This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 852 for the week of Monday, January 20th, 2025. My name is Zach.
And my name is Alex.
And on today's show, we have a very special guest translator for One Piece in Shonen Jump and Manga Plus. As usual, we have Stephen Paul with us. How's it going, Stephen?
It's going great. I've been up since 4:30-ish, 5, something like that. And it is now later in the evening, and I have brought some interesting tidbits to talk about with this week's chapter, and we will see how loopy I am when I get there.
To explain my loopiness over the last few years, that's about when I get up. Not like an hour off. Anyway, we also have our editor, Delaney, is joining us. How's it going, Delaney?
About as well as it can be going for any Twin Peaks fan this week. So, filled with ennui, but pushing through because you just gotta live.
The other ennui supporter. I don't know what to call that quite. Wow, my loopiness. What did I just say? My loopiness is showing through right here. We have the composer for our theme, also a artist, a musician. Wow, really gone today. A writing person for many periodicals. We have Kirsten Carey joining us. How's it going, Kirsten?
I mean, great. Now that I look forward to putting ennui supporter in every online bio.
That's your new email signature. Ennui person.
Absolutely.
This is why I go
Kirsten Carey.
This is why I go in
pronouns ennui person.
Sorry about that. That's why I go in completely unprepared.
The ennui.
And last, but certainly not least, this, I believe, you have been one of our most, if not our most requested guests. He's on Twitch, and you might know him from reading through One Piece pretty recently and catching up. We have AJ, also known as Aleczandxr. How's it going, AJ?
Really well. Thank you so much for having me. And that's a really, really cool honor for so many people to have asked for that. And also, I was today, just now, years old when I realized who Stephen Paul was. Like, I had no idea. So that's really cool.
I know. I feel like we never actually like give people like a heads up of like, okay, here's who we all are. And so I always wonder, like, when we do the intro, like, does anybody just get completely caught off guard? So I thank you for confirming that.
Yes.
Don't you know who I am? My name is on. No, no. I think the surprise was fun. Just like Kirsten hasn't read the chapter yet and is going to be doing it live. Is that actually happening?
Thank you for telling all the listeners.
Oh no, people need to know. Otherwise, they're going to give you a really hard time that you didn't realize.
Where's the excitement, Kirsten? Where's the intrigue for this episode of the OPP? If they don't know you're doing it on a tightrope.
Look, here we go. We're in it. We're in it together, folks.
That's why you're an ennui supporter.
Actually, probably yes.
Aleczandxr.
True ennui heads know.
AJ, since it's your first time on the show, we like to ask new guests how they got into One Piece. How did you find yourself on this 1,100 plus chapter journey?
It's been a really interesting process, I guess. So I primarily started doing stuff on the internet with video essays for anime, like really polished, formal video essays. And for years, I'd do lots of shonen, but people would recommend One Piece to me, but it was really long, and I don't know, I just never had the time, or I couldn't commit to it for one reason or another. Then I started streaming, I guess 3 years ago, and I realized it kind of lined up for people who were interested in me experiencing One Piece for me to do it on stream. That way there would be time, we'd be able to do it every week, it would be lots of fun, and I was just generally interested. So almost 3 years ago, I read the first chapter just for the hell of it. And it's one of my favorite first chapters in anything. And so I was immediately really hooked by a lot of the things that it laid down. And from there, I just slowly got more and more into it. And there's footage out there. Well, it's not all saved, but I have documented every single chapter, me reading it online on stream. And that started almost 3 years ago up till today, where I just did the same thing with 1136. I caught up about, 5-6 months ago. So it's been a gradual process, but it's been really rewarding, and it's just been awesome. It's been great to fall in love with the story and be introduced to people like you guys and the community as a whole, slowly but surely, now that I can get involved with that due to not being averse to spoilers,
Yeah, as much at least.
As much, yeah.
So 2.5 years or so, that's a pretty gradual, like that's a nice, healthy pace to kind of ease yourself through it. But I am curious, since you've been caught up for a couple months now, how was the transition from like, oh, I can do this whenever I want, to now I'm waiting, 1 or 2 or 3 weeks at a time to get one more chapter?
Because I can tell you, as someone who didn't take that much time, it fucking sucked.
Yeah. Well, the thing with that is, so I'm a huge Hunter x Hunter fan. So
okay.
I'm used to breaks. I'm used to hiatuses. So the actual waiting for the chapter is not a huge deal, especially considering that breaks are good for the longevity and health of the writers, right? So I always have that in the back of my mind. But the actual community stream experience, I do miss it. Like, the past couple of months have been pretty rough in terms of just like, okay, today's a Sunday, I can't stream One Piece, or I can, but I'd be rereading or something. Like, it's more so the community aspect than the dying to know what happens next in the story, because I can be pretty patient. But although this week is a bit of an outlier in that regard, but we'll get there.
And it's a meaty one, at least. There's a lot to go through. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
No, I think I agree with you. Especially recently, I'm sure you're aware that we've just had a lot more and lengthier breaks than usual, and I definitely I too miss the community aspect of it. I feel like that's the thing that, the cliffhangers are always going to be, they're always going to be there. But I'll forget about it after a few days. But the community aspect is, I get that.
There's a certain sense. There's a certain sense of like sort of collective anticipation that like you get strung along at the right pace when they are coming out weekly, and it does feel, even if it's just like inside your head, it does kind of feel like everybody kind of collectively has to work themselves back up to it when it's been off for 2 weeks or 2 times in 3 weeks, or how, whenever it's especially long. At least that's how it always feels to me.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, it's super necessary, but it is a huge integral part of my experience. So you definitely miss it.
Well, we're here to talk about it, but before we do, I need to, make sure you're on the level here and ask you some important One Piece questions in which there's only one right answer to all of them. Not really, but first,
all of them are Kaiser Clown.
Who is
every single answer?
Who is your favorite Straw Hat pirate?
Is Luffy? Does Luffy count? Because I know some people don't count him. Okay,
no, that would be my answer too. So.
Okay. Luffy. It's Luffy. Yeah. Once we hit Wano, and once Gear 5 and Nika and everything all coalesced, I don't think there was any turning back from him solidifying himself as number one, not just Straw Hat, but in the whole story for me. And I have trouble seeing him not being there by the end of the story. But for a good portion of it, my favorite was Usopp, and he's my second favorite.
Both good answers, and I get both. When you caught up, did Egghead wrap up already when you caught up? I'm trying to...
I got the tail end of it. I think I got the last 10 or so chapters of Egghead.
How was that in one go generally? Because it's still so fresh, I think, in our heads as a weekly experience. I'm just curious.
Yeah, it was very different because... it is so dense. I think it might be the densest arc. It's incredible how much is in each chapter, and So at times I had to like cut off streams because it was just overwhelming, or like do less than usual because it was overwhelming. I think the main difference in Egghead is that I found myself having to really reread and refer back a lot because there's just so much stuff that, you know, I'd be so caught up in some GARP stuff that I'd forget a really important Vegapunk thing, or like I'd be taking notes generally throughout my experience, but I'd have to do that extra for Egghead just because I think binging it is lots of fun, as it always is for One Piece, but it's a lot easier to miss stuff, and I think I was more prone to missing stuff during Egghead.
It's almost impossible not to.
Yeah.
Our recaps, I mean, for that whole arc, I feel like we're at least an hour to an hour and a half, which is insane to go through one chapter for that long. But there's just so much in each one. My second question, I'll get back now. I'm getting back to now. Who is your favorite antagonist in the series?
Antagonist, Doflamingo. Doflamingo is my favorite antagonist, but very close to him is Kaido, which is a less popular take from what I can tell. I put out a huge video about Kaido because I'm a huge fan of his, but my number one would be Doflamingo. I just think he's top to bottom one of the best constructed characters in the whole series, and one of my favorite shonen antagonists, full stop.
Wow. These things are always interesting because I think people who read it weekly also just have a very different view on everyone than people who catch up all at once, and we have a mixture here. Who is your favorite non-Straw Hat, non-antagonist? Who doesn't fit in those two buckets?
Third party.
I guess that would be Whitebeard. That would be Whitebeard. Yeah. Marineford was a religious experience, and it was in large part due to him. I love him. He's still right at the very top of my list for One Piece, and I think, and it's not particularly close. I guess next after him would be Roger or Shanks, but he's got a bit of a gap on them.
Only emperors for you. Not Blackbeard.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Oops, all emperors.
I gotta say, your favorites have they've all got like some sort of big destiny saddled with them. That's very interesting.
Except for Doflamingo, I guess.
Yeah, well, he's a weird celestial dragon thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's a common theme for sure. And
he's a champion of evil.
He is a champion of evil.
I thought your observation was just going to end at they've all got some big something. It's like, yeah, they're all tall as fuck. Well observed, Alex.
They're big men.
Long feet.
Large men.
Luffy isn't.
Luffy isn't. Yeah.
Luffy can be big.
That's
Spiritually,
true.
he can be
That's
big.
true.
And you did mention Gear 5 specifically, so maybe that's why.
true.
Wow, I haven't done these in a while that I'm forget. Oh, what's your simple questions I'm forgetting. What is your favorite story arc?
So okay, well, the TLDR is it's Wano, which I'll be one of the first to point out that it has lots of problems, but the peaks, my two peaks in the series, the 1 and 2, are both in Wano, and it was just sort of, to me, it's a crystallization of a lot of the things that I love about One Piece in general, about stories in general, shonen in general, and I think Wano is the arc where Luffy really becomes the legend that we knew he was going to become, but like we see it come to fruition. I think in a lot of ways, like what Kaido sees, which is this legend who he admires and resents in Luffy, come to fruition. I think we're kind of put in his perspective as the everyman or the reader of the story in that way. And that just really spoke to me. Just all the different hints that led up to it. Gear 5 is my favorite moment in the story. And my second favorite is Roger's laugh. I was completely bawling during that chapter. And then there's just, I think it has an amazing side cast. I love King as well as a character. I think he's one of the most efficient in the story. I had a really fun relationship with Kanjudo. I think Sanji has some really great underrated moments. Robin is fantastic. Like, I just think Wano has so much of what I love about the series, and I think it's a sort of spiritual successor to Skypiea, which is another one of my favorites. And yeah, it just sort of elevated the storytelling into a realm that I didn't even know I had hit a limit with my enjoyment of One Piece, and then it crashed the limit. So it meant a lot to me personally, and I think it's one of the most important, and I think it's personally Luffy's most important arc. So it just hits on every level for me.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Like
I was gonna ask you, Stephen.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, like you mentioned the like Luffy sort of coming into his own as a legendary figure, because I do feel like for a lot of older fans who had followed it for a long time, that's still kind of like a point of contention, or it's like that you know he is the hero, and you know that he is, by nature of the type of story that this is, like that he's destined to do great things, possibly the greatest thing you could possibly imagine, and yet like the reveal that he has like a special fruit, and that he's he has these certain like sort of chosen one aspects to his character, like was not something that I think a lot of people were actively thinking about or associated him with for many years. And so that is still kind of a thing that I think a lot of older fans kind of have had to grapple with, feeling like the series has changed after that. But I think you are absolutely right that is kind of an inflection point for Luffy's characterization within the world of One Piece.
I would argue though that Luffy doesn't
he doesn't think of it that way.
No, yeah, and I think that's an interesting dichotomy too, because I feel like in other media, when you have that chosen, but the chosen one figure, they eventually will lean into it. I don't know if Luffy will ever lean into that, just because he has his own, like he marches to the beat of his own drum. So. Yeah. I think that's
Was that pun intended?
Literally, yeah.
It was
it's
not
his drum.
Yes.
Well, the prison arc is a bit of that, where they do discuss like what qualities Luffy has already and what he needs to sort of bring to the table to be a leader, which was the aspect more than Gear 5 that got me like sort of in the same place, AJ, where it's like, okay, we're actually seeing Luffy like really step up now to the next level, rather than like, I'm an emperor, but going up a notch.
To me, it was right before Onigashima where Luffy and then Kid and Trafalgar make their appearance, and Luffy's like giving orders, and he's got his like cape, and it's the first time for me where I'm like, oh hey, he's a heavy hitter now. Like he doesn't feel so much
that cape, man.
Yeah, he doesn't feel so much like feel so much like an underdog anymore. Because for a while you're thinking, okay, how is he going to be on equal footing of Shanks and Blackbeard and them? And I think that that was the moment for me. And it's funny that you do mention Wano as part of Luffy's sort of his Ascension. Full metamorphosis, I guess, to our guy.
Yeah, it's a really interesting, I think, if you take a bit of both of your points, one that Luffy is really not one to claim that he's a hero or he's this legendary figure or anything like that, and also with regards to how there are points throughout the story, well earlier than Wano, where you kind of see it coming to fruition. I think a big part of why it mattered so much for me was because I started sort of clocking this in Logtown, actually, when the storm, there's essentially this torrential storm, this crazy tsunami or something that allows Luffy and the Straw Hats to escape, and it almost feels fated. Like, it almost feels like this crazy cosmic luck, like the universe is tilting in his direction and bending to his will, that he's able to escape like this. And there's little things like that where you just go like, okay, it's a story. Stories have stuff like that. But throughout the story, there are little things throughout that just feel like Luffy just once in a while gets kind of crazy lucky, or something happens that feels like it's fated. And the more that accumulates, the more it just feels like, yeah, this is just destined to end with him being this figure, this he doesn't claim to be a hero, but he is what you will make of him, and the vast majority of the world will make of him, will say he's a hero. So it's just cool to see, I guess, in Wano was the actualization of that, where all those little coincidences and all of that accumulated, and I think it happens in the way it does, and I think he is this generation's Nika, or whatever you want to call him, primarily because he doesn't view himself that way. Anyone who tries hard to be that sort of figure, and is self-aware in that, and tries to gain this repute or whatever, that's literally just Kaido. That's someone who will just only end up disappointed and losing themselves. But Luffy is this figure because it's just a byproduct of who he is, which is a big part of the draw of it to me.
I feel
Not to be a fucking dork, but it's very Greek mythology, isn't it? Where sometimes it's like Odysseus had to do this, and other times it's like, yeah, I don't know, God just really liked him that day, so we kind of have to keep him moving.
Yeah,
up to the point where he goes and fights the biggest guy in town.
I was just going to say,
I forgot about that, Storm.
I think I feel like we're really stepping on some of the points that may come up in our discussion of
I was going to
later today. So.
I was going to say we need to do a full Wano recap at some point. Is what this is bringing up for me, because it's been.
It also
Kirsten. Yeah,
I've been for like months and months ago, I pitched an article on this very topic that I just haven't written yet.
Oh yeah, we did talk about that. Yeah.
I guess this means I should write it.
Wow, this is.
But yeah. Yeah, it's all, I don't know. I feel like I'm typically allergic to Chosen One. Like, I don't know. I don't love Chosen One narratives, but I feel like the way that One Piece does it, and the kind of like push and pull with Luffy's character, as we've been talking, where it's present, but it's also kind of made fun of at the same time, is an interesting dynamic that you don't see, you don't see often.
Well, that's One Piece.
I could think of it. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. It's the serious thing that's also being made fun of simultaneously. It's.
What if Christ / the Antichrist was Roger Rabbit?
Yes.
What?
Both simultaneously.
I'm not sure how we got there, but I love it. We
don't know.
AJ, did you only go through? I forget now. Did you only read the manga, or did you watch any of the anime as well?
So what I would do was I'd basically do it sort of arc by arc, and then after I'd finished reading an arc or two, if they were short, members of my community would sort of suggest like the best adapted anime episodes of the arc, and then we come together and watch 5 of them usually. Like the big highlights. So I've seen roughly, I don't know, 50 to 60 episodes of the anime, a lot of the best ones, but I just didn't have time to watch the full adaptation. But so I've seen a lot of the more famous ones, and the more like the big Wano highlights, a lot of the big story moments. So I've seen a decent portion, but nowhere near as many as a lot of people have.
The 1100.
Yeah.
Yeah, I assume it was one of the anime episodes you watched, the adaptation of Chapter 1000 with Yamato envisioning Luffy and running up to Roger.
Yeah, absolutely. That was I would have been hounded if I didn't watch that one.
Anything by Ishitani.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, I don't know how many of the openings that you actually had, or endings that you actually had a chance to see, and if you enjoyed any of them. But I could ask, what was the standout moment in your standout moment marathon?
Of the episodes?
Yeah, or like what moment in the anime stood out to you the most?
So, I think... honestly, it would probably have to be Bink Sake. Like the way they composed the song for it and the way they adapted it. I don't know that it's my favorite episode, but it was just a moment that really captured me, and that I felt like it to me it transcended anime, it transcended manga stories. Like I was so completely lost in the Bink Sake episode and everything about it. But and I think that was a big turning point with me with the anime. But then, yeah, the episode, I think it was episode 1015 or whatever the chapter 1000 adaptation was. That's right up there as maybe the best adapted one. I also completely adore all the big moments in Wano Gear 5, but I also love Zoro versus King. I think it does a lot of really interesting things. And also there's, I don't remember which episode it is, but there's an episode that sort of really deeply expands upon Kaido's delusion, sort of showing a bit of an alternate universe fight he had with Luffy where both of them were just laughing and having a great time, and then he sort of snaps out of it and you realize it's like a daydream or a little bit of a delusion for him. I don't remember which episode that was, but that's a huge highlight as well, just in terms of expanding upon the source material for me.
The Wano material, I mean, they had a whole new animation team, and it's a huge step up generally. So AJ, thank you for the introduction. Now we know that it's okay for you to continue being on. Your opinions were all fine. I'm just gonna go
favorite
through...
arc, Dressrosa, 2 more hours of recording.
The people, but newer people do really love, like people who caught up more recently love Dressrosa. It was the week to week thing.
We don't all have your trauma, Zach.
Yeah, covering it week to week in depth was rough. Anyway, that's nothing to say, especially that flashback is wonderful. I don't want everyone to be angry at me on the internet because that doesn't happen usually. Just some bits of news, and Alex, I want to talk about this piece of news first. I almost forgot about this, but Kitadani is coming out with a new album, Mark of Friendship. Do you want to talk about it a little bit? I have the tracks here if you need.
Sure. So, in an unprecedented bit of news here, Hiroshi Kitadani, who, as we all know, is the vocalist for many One Piece openings, including We Are, We Go, Us, and Over the Top, you know, and the one he did with Kishidan that everybody hates.
Hope? Or
Yes We Can. That's what it was. Or it's just We Can. Sorry. Yeah. Yes We Can's the Obama thing. So Kitadani is releasing a cover album of him singing many more One Piece openings, almost the rest of them, I think. Not just but not just from like the show either. So the track list here is Wake Up, I'm Invincible, Hikarie, Kokoro no Chizu, Sailing Day, Brand New World, Jungle P, Dreamin' On, One Day, New Genesis, and Memories. As we all know, New Genesis is Uta's one of Uta's songs from Film Red, and Sailing Day is the Bump of Chicken song that plays over the credits of One Piece Movie 4, Dead End Adventure. I'm
shocking.
Invincible. What's that? Which is that one of the later Wano ones?
No. I'm curious.
Oh no, that's another Uta. That's another Uta song.
Yes, it is. Red. Oh, that's probably my favorite one of that. I don't know the English titles for it.
I'm Invincible.
It's the one where she kind of goes crazy, right? Like
when she gets the knight outfit on and beats up the
pirates,
Big Mom pirates. Yeah.
And now we're gonna copyright zing.
Yes, get fucked.
That is probably one of my favorite tracks in that. Yeah, so I mean that's crazy. Wake Up, I hate. I want to make clear everything about
Wake Up.
It's Screaming Running Forever is what we called it.
Yeah,
you say right after I don't let people get mad at me on the internet. It was
very sarcastic. Because they do. Yeah, I mean the rest of these though are really. I'm excited.
Sailing Day was the one that made me pop because I feel like oh wow, that's a song most people forget about because it's the fourth movie and there's been so many movies since. But Bump of Chicken, I guess, is hot again. So
are they?
I had no idea Bump of Chicken did a One Piece song, and now I'm excited
they
to
were
find it.
The fan cast opening for the years 2000 through 2010, I think, for all the... I remember just like, oh, Bump of Chicken's totally going to do the next One Piece opening, and they never did.
They did the cup noodle.
They did. That's true. Which is amazing
too, yeah.
and unavailable now.
Oh, is it?
I haven't seen them. I think they're mostly, if they're online, I don't think they're...
Somebody archive them, please. Sources. Like, that is... Yeah, that's...
Yeah. Agreed.
Where's the cover of This Is How You Remind Me from Film Z?
That's the Nickelback one, or the...
Don't get me started.
It's the Avril
Lavigne cover of
Nickelback.
The Avril Lavigne cover of Nickelback.
Of the Joan Jett.
I don't think my heart has been destroyed more swiftly in one moment than the first time I watched Film Z, and that occurred.
It was a big deal at the time. That
I'm not aware of any of Nickelback's music. I mean, I'm not like, I know who Nickelback is. So that was,
Kirsten, we'll get to your Nickelback opinions at some point because I am curious. But that comes out March 26th. Hopefully it'll be on streaming platforms as well.
AveX has been very good about releasing a lot of
Kitadani particularly.
Yeah, Kitadani and Tanaka too. Like the latest OST, like the BGM OST is on streaming services, which shocked and delighted me that I didn't have to find it online to download anywhere.
Same.
Yeah,
The other big bit of news is that the 111th volume of the series comes out on March 4th. This includes the end of Egghead and the beginning of Elbaf, believe it or not. I'll find the chapters or approximate chapters in a second. But
we don't have a cover yet, right?
We don't have it.
No.
We usually get those a couple weeks before.
Yeah, it's usually like 2 weeks before-ish. 1 week before.
He has been so on and off with that. Like, he'll either bust out like the nicest looking cover he's ever done or just the blandest. Like, I don't like... Or not bland, that's the wrong word for Oda. Just like, what is he doing here? In my opinion. But I mean, like, the Egghead covers have been all over the place. There's been some, like, the first one was amazing with them jetting into the distance. Anyway, that's coming out on in March. There's a bonus episode of the anime. Is that out on YouTube? Like, officially, the whole thing? It's like, I see like the 5-minute. Is it like a full episode?
Oh, the anime thing?
Yeah, the Law Luffy fan fiction episode.
I think this 5-minute thing might be the full thing.
I think it is. I haven't watched it yet.
I just skimmed through it, and it seems pretty like beginning, middle, and end. It's just like a little fun fight scene where Luffy and Law are fighting a sea serpent. Very reminiscent of the one that they fight in the Ganzak special. But
I thought you meant Law in the Ganzak special, and I'm I don't remember him being there in 1999. Or 98. Okay. The last bit of news, also anime related. Season 15 Voyage 2 is coming out on the 21st digitally. That brings the dub up to 1108. They're like in Egghead and almost caught up. They're only like 20 episodes behind. Let's see if they do it before it resumes. Let's see if they could close that gap after 15, 18 years, something like that. Anyway, pretty cool.
We also have a boatload of OPLA news, don't we?
Oh, we do. Yes. I almost forgot the OPLA news.
Yes, we do.
So the live action Netflix One Piece. I don't know if you have that in front of you, Delaney, or if you're just pitching to me.
No, I thought you did.
No, I do. I have
Rigo Sanchez as Dragon, Yonda Thomas as Igaram, and James Hiroyuki Liao as Ipponmatsu. I forget if there was another batch.
There is another batch.
Oh, yes, there is another batch. Sophia Ann Caruso as Miss Golden Week, Anton David Jeffta as KM instead of Kudo Marimo, and Mark Penwell as Chess.
I think it's fine. It's KM.
One of my favorite, like, I don't know if I said this to anybody, but I think it's really remarkable that they found an actor who actually looks like Chess.
All right.
I'm like, yep, there he is.
You're gonna have to give me a minute there. Now I have to get an interview with him.
Notable details about this this rung of cast is this fellow who is playing Ippon Matsu was the mocap actor and voice actor for the main character in the video game Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh, interesting.
Which is funny because the Japanese voice for that character is Kazuya Nakai. So it's yeah.
That's Zoro's
so there's Zoro's voice actor, yeah. And Miss Golden Week's actress, it was Lydia Dietz in the original Broadway run of Beetlejuice.
I see that. That I feel like that
which
really
I think
fits.
is a cool. I think that's a cool tidbit.
Yeah,
Does look exactly like Miss Golden Week.
Yeah,
they are.
To an
Their
incredible
casting.
degree.
I think we've said this from the beginning. Netflix's casting department. If anything that you could take away from the Netflix series is almost batting, 10 for 10. Just perfect stuff. Yeah, that's most of the big news this week. I'm sure I'm forgetting something more significant. We have a big chapter to talk about, though. We've been talking for like an hour, but we got to talk about this one. It's 11:36, and we'll get there in a moment right after this. This is the manga recap for chapter 1136, The Land That Awaits the Sun. And let's talk about the cover page. What's who's spitting out of his mouth? Alex, what's going on here?
So here we have Yogurt Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage, Volume 22, a mysterious base deep in Udon, but doesn't look like a mystery to me because that's
whose could
clearly
this be? Wait,
yeah, it's clearly who's gigantic head.
Yeah, but who's who?
Well,
that's
you
the
mean
main
who's
thing.
who?
Oh,
Yes.
Classics never got us down.
Yep. What's his favorite band? So looks like Yamato and crew have hold him tied up, taking him back to his hidden base, which very clearly is owned by Who's Who. Unless that is Who's like...
If that's him.
Yeah, unless that's him. And that's just his resting face.
This is like the antagonist with the evil lair. It's like, where could it be? Whose is it?
Yeah.
He works at a Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like, it looks kind of like Castle Grayskull.
Yes.
Except it's like a cat skull.
Catsoul Grayskull.
Catsoul Grayskull, yeah. I didn't notice this before, but Speed's... I didn't realize that Speed had like a two-tone butt as well.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's excellent.
It's always been like that, yeah.
It looks like a little... it looks like a giant... Like an actual ponytail, like with bangs.
That probably was on purpose, I would assume.
It looks like her like her livery that she gets at fucking medieval times to run around in the jousting area.
Huzzah.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any thoughts on this cover page?
Let's move on.
All right.
This is one of the better ones, I guess. Okay, go ahead.
We are moving on to Luffy eating a gigantic piece of meat, the moose that Stanson and Hyruden caught earlier. Luffy is gushing at how good it is, and he says, this moose tastes like dinosaur. And this is Jarl, right? Jarl
Yes.
Treebeard? What's his mountain beard?
A Beard Hill. Yeah.
Beard Hill. Okay. Treebeard.
Don't make a mountain out of a beer hill.
Oh, boy.
Beard Hill. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Jesus.
that's all terrible.
The beer hill. the beer hill's what they're all standing on during the party.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
We're on Beer Hill.
So you can really see how gigantic he is because he is at least 3 times the height of a normal giant, as well as the girth too. Yeah, he's ginormous. I think that, and then that's Colin running across the festival in the foreground.
Nika reference.
Yeah, there it is. Boom.
Yeah.
Boy, actually, before we move to more important stuff, do you think giants just keep growing for their whole lives? Then is that how that works? They like just never stop growing,
like trees. Yeah,
like trees. Anyway, sorry.
Actually, I think that was touched on. That was touched on in the latest SGS, I think.
Oh, I have not finished it. I'm like halfway through.
We probably talked about it.
Yeah. So Jarl says,
I'm surprised you got one. Moose is delicious, but the beasts are very fierce.
and Hyruden said,
I'd risk any danger for the man who saved my life.
Luffy thanks Hyruden and Stanson for their meat. Hyruden or Stanson sing,
Gaga.
I'm just glad you like it. And we have a panel here where Jarl is so what Jarl is doing is he's holding a plate that has a 2 scale, like to his scale, I guess like a 42-ounce steak, but Luffy is, minuscule eating it, so it's
it doesn't look very cooked. I'm going to be honest.
No,
he's just holding it like an hors d'oeuvre plate. A fancy party.
By the way, this is also how the pizza looks like in One Piece, so it could also be that.
Yeah, Moose could be made out of Moose is made out of pizza. Like, what kind of a world are we living in?
What are we going to ride on rainbows next?
We're living in the magical world of Rand McNally, where
Homer in the land of chocolate.
Yeah, people wear shoes on their feet and hamburgers eat people. So Jarl says,
it's not often that humans come up here to the sun world. Usually they don't know how to get here, so they assume the underworld is Elbaf and end up fleeing.
And elsewhere, during this gigantic party, we hear,
really, but Ors was a vicious warrior whose story has been passed down through our history.
And Usopp says, that's right, he was 3 times the size of any of you, and the man who finished him off was me. And everybody's screaming for Captain Usopp.
He has a new hat.
And he's but he's got a new hat. And this next panel makes me laugh a lot because it looks like Jinbei's just minding his own business when somebody says, your skin really is blue.
Not cool. Not cool.
We saw you from across the bar and we noticed that you're blue. We really like your vibe.
Next, they're going to be asking to touch his hair.
Oh no!
I enjoy that there's not an exclamation mark. It's just a period, which somehow makes it even more bizarre.
Yeah.
Hey, baby, you're blue.
They're just stating a fact to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jinbei, well, he didn't blue himself. He was born like that. As a matter of fact, he to his looky-loos, he says,
folks are even more colorful at Fishman Island, like all the fish in the sea.
This real freak of nature with the glasses remarks that they hope to see a mermaid one day. And Sanji butts in because nobody really asked him, but he butts in anyway, and he says, "They're beautiful, gentlemen. The mermaid inlet is like heaven on earth." And then this guy looks like the Hulkster, is incredibly impressed and goes, "Wow!" And Usopp says, "But I feel like I'm ascending to heaven just being in the presence of so many giant angels." Sanji is surrounded by giant women. And he is in hog heaven, and they seem to be.
Did that one on the left? Yeah. Did that one on the left steal Prince Gru's?
What? What'd I say?
Hog heaven.
Well, he wishes he was. Well, he wishes he was in hog heaven. But he's in. All right.
He's in my hell.
Yeah. Anyway, they think Sanji is very cute, and God, when Oda did the hard eyes with Sanji like earlier on in the series, I'm like, that's kind of funny. But when he draws him with like the over accentuated lips, he looks like a real fucking creep.
Well, he is.
Yeah.
The
Anyway,
commitment to the nose is incredible, to be honest.
Yeah, that God, I hate that face. Anyway,
it's the Roto face, which I guess we'll get to.
Yeah, he goes, "Woohoo! I'm drowning in beautiful women." Yeah.
And on the next page, yes, we're just having a real moment of cultural exchange here. Everybody's telling their own stories, and someone finds Brooke, who of course does not appear to be human at all. Oh, what are you then? And Brooke goes, me? Why, I've got the what am I blues. Yeah. So he just busts out a little lick on the guitar there. And they're just overcome. A toast to the wonders of the vast world. And meanwhile, Nami and Zoro are the cool kids. They're sitting back just drinking. And Zoro says, kind of surprised at how many giants haven't ever gone to sea, right? I thought all the giants on Elbaf were pirates. So yeah, a lot of them they're just kind of provincial over here. They don't really know what the deal is with the rest of the world. And then here he is, Roto, who, yes, now that you mention it, like his nose shape here is very similar to Sanji's on the previous page. He just zoops into the panel, like up from below, shocking Nami. And he's all beat up. He's got a big old shiner. He's got a big lump over one eye, and he's kind of crying, lost a couple teeth. And he's like, ultra rare Nami, ultra rare Star Hats. Forgive me for my earlier indiscretion. So he's at least apologizing. But Gerd, of course, who is watching over him, kind of forcing him to make good, says, no forgiveness for you. Make sure you apologize. And he is thinking to himself, this is awakening something in me. Punish me, Gerd. So, yeah, we're just going full circle with this joke here. And Zoro is
in jail. What happened to the crucifix?
Yeah, it was only a timeout, so he finished his 15 minutes or whatever, and they let him down. And Zoro's like, don't worry about it. Nobody died, but only because Usopp stopped us from fighting back. He says, real cool, like as he takes a swig. This is his his special like sword in mouth ventriloquism here that he's talking as he's drinking. And then he lowers his mug, and it's kind of funny because like he has some really cool like hatching on the shading on his face here, but like the way that it goes over like his mouth and chin just kind of makes him look like Elizabello to me. Like he's got like the Homer Simpson 5 o'clock shadow.
It's the nose, really. Also.
Yeah.
I feel like the nose extends further past where the
it's because of the mask.
And his goggles. Yeah.
The lame goggles that I think are lame.
But very cool. Like he's wiping his mouth with the side of his hand. He says, "If not for that, your head would have left your shoulders."
This is Netflix Zoro, by the way, talking.
And Roto is like, whoo, like he gets a little hockey jolt there, and just falls straight off his feet, falls on his ass. And the giants are all. I just like this one guy on the left who's like recoiling with laughter, just busting up at Roto, and the Straw Hats are laughing at him. And they're like, don't you know what their bounties are? You don't stand a chance against them. And Roto is like shivering and looking at them with shock. And then Gerd does a little like motion with her hand. And she's like, and the next time he tries something, you just go right ahead and do that to Zoro. And Roto reacts with, my Gerd! And he's thinking, this is so stimulating. So yeah, he's really having a moment.
He's just a big fan of early 2010s memes.
Yeah.
My Gerd.
His Gersperms.
Or my Gerd, yeah. But yeah, he's shifting gears here. He's trying to rationalize his what he was doing. He's like, you don't understand. That was a dream that's held by everyone born in Elbaf. We all wish to be the sun god and rule the world.
By the way, I hate how Roto has to be the thing that transitions us into this next. Like, really? Okay. AJ, what happens next?
Just before I start, I just think that detail's really cool. That everyone in Elbaf all wish to be not just to be the sun god, but to rule the world as well. And then you sort of coalesce that with Loki's situation. I just think there's a lot of implications there that are really, really cool.
But why Roto?
Yeah, I know. It's like who's who transitioned us with
true.
some casual racism into a big Nika exposition in Wano, right?
That's true.
But then we go to Zoro, who is really, really paying attention to this and really seems really interested. And he's just thinking sun god. Or sorry, he says sun god. And then it just seems to be chatter among some of the people here. Don't be a fool. The sun god isn't a ruler. Yeah, he's a god of liberation. No, a god of destruction. Wrong, he's a god of laughter. And all that is really, really cool because I think you can view it from... I think these are attributes of Luffy, all of which can be applied to Luffy independently from him coming into his own in Wano. All the way back, he's been destructive, he laughs, he liberates. And
it's also like, it's kind of like the unreliable narrator thing we've been kind of seeing the whole time. Big News Morgans is a big one. Like, who's getting the truth out of this? Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because like, also depending on who you ask, Luffy could be a god of destruction or a god of liberation or whatever. And that's something he says, like, decide for yourself what I am. So that's just really cool. They're talking about different perspectives of what the sun god is, and these are things that have been attributed to Luffy throughout the story. I just think it's really cool. And so then we learn, then someone says, Elbaf is home to an ancient religious text known as the Harley. Because it is so ancient, there are many interpretations of it. And this is Jarl saying this. It continues to be passed down, even though no one can translate it anymore, hence the confusion. According to the Harley, the world has twice been destroyed in the past, and in each case, the presence of Nika, the sun god, is closely tied to it. And that's gigantic to me. Like, the implications for that are incredible, and immediately reminded me of the Fishman Island prophecy.
Yeah.
The who's who.
The destruction of the worlds and Nika being tied to it. Then we...
the Charlie, the Madame Charlie thing?
Yeah, Charlie, yeah. Yes. Because I've always... There was the prophecy that Luffy would destroy Fishman Island, and nothing really happened with regards to that. And Fishman Island still has not properly seen the sun, and I think that's a thread that we're going to revisit. But if there is destruction associated with Nika, and it's been prophesized that Luffy destroys Fishman Island, and there's the unfulfilled promise, I think it all just leads to the idea of a conceptual destruction of Fishman Island, just pulling it up from the roots and bringing it into this new era. That will, bring harmony to it. I just think it's a really cool hook that I thought of with that.
Before we move on, I'll just jump in real quick to make a note about the Harley here. So I'm not really positive what this might be a reference to something, or that Oda derived this name from somewhere. It is just Hade in Japanese, and I didn't really want to call, like, my first inclination was like, I don't really want to call it Harley, although if you do Google the name in Japanese, like 90 to 95% of the hits are for Harley Quinn, because that's it's just like the most the most famous example of that name in Japanese.
Was it in katakana?
Yeah.
Harley? Yeah.
So I was like, well, I don't really want to just call it Harley and like have people think of either Harley Quinn or Harley Davidson or whatever. But I did find in doing some research that there is, whether this was, what Oda discovered or was thinking of, there is a collection of manuscripts called the Harley Collection or the Harleian Library in Britain that is all, it was assembled by a guy named Harley in like the 16 and 1700s and is mostly Middle Ages to Renaissance era. And I don't think that, as far as I know, I don't believe there's anything like particularly related to Scandinavian mythology or history. I don't think it contains like the Poetic Edda or any of those like sagas or anything like that. But it is interesting that it is a collection of old texts, which does kind of thematically fit with what this is here. So maybe that was what Oda was making a reference to when he named it.
As cool as that is, I don't like believing that Oda has to be blighted with knowledge of the British, so I'm just going to refer to my originally planned joke, which was, talk about hog heaven.
I was going to say something like Nika folia adu, because Nika's destroyed the world twice, according to the Harley. So it's...
Yeah, we'll definitely get back to this in more detail. But I do like how Roto is getting his ass kicked during this, important exposition here.
Yes.
Anyway, AJ, continue, please.
Yeah, AJ, please. Yeah.
Then we go to a really awesome looking depiction of Nika with this flowing cloud-like white hair and cape as then we see, is he the hero who appeared to save the world from disaster, the destroyer who lays waste to all? He appears when the world is about to undergo a great transformation. Therefore, the great and mighty of the day always fear Nika's arrival. And I just love all the implications of that and how it applies to those in power and the status quo, and why, a big part of why Emu is really stricken by fear lately. Oh yeah, and then Luffy says, "Oh yeah, Nika. Bonnie was talking to me about that guy." And then Jarl says, "Because he is the god of the sun, it is those without hope who seek him the most." And I was streaming today, and someone pointed out that one of the first times we hear about it, or maybe the first time, is in the doldrums of Impel Down, where the place where no one has hope.
Who's Who had heard it in
sorry,
Down, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who's Who had heard it in Impel Down, and that is a place without hope. So that's just really cool.
And in Marijoa with the slaves as well. With Kuma, yeah.
Nika wears white clouds around him, and appears with white hair, clothes, and jolly laughter. That must be why everyone said. And then Luffy says, "That must be why everyone said I remind them of him." And he laughs, and then he says, "But that has nothing to do with me." And that's kind of tagging on to what Alex said earlier about that complete lack of self-awareness with regards to that, or interest in being that hero. But that is in part of why he is this generation's Nika. So really dense couple of pages there.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll talk more about the silhouette and the differences at the end. Alex.
Luffy kind of poo-poos everything, and in a scene very reminiscent of Romance Dawn, the first chapter.
Okay, I'm glad you said that, because I was going to say that too. Like,
yeah.
These guys, totally, absolutely.
They're like Shanks's crew. They're sort of like dancing and finishing each other's sentences. Like it's, I immediately thought of that. So I'm glad that we're on the same page here. It's Stanson, Hyruden, and Goldberg saying, "Come on, don't ruin all the fun, Straw Hat. Everyone aboard Nolbath idolizes Nika growing up." Luffy says, "I won't defend whatever," although I think one of the giants says, "Though I won't defend whatever that moron Roto is doing." Jarl says, "Even Loki, the late Harold in a sense, are the result of attempting to be Nika, perhaps." And they tell Jarl that they don't need to rationalize Loki's actions that way, as we hear some stomp tromp in the background, which is the sound of revelry, thanks to Steven. Every time I see stomp tromp, I always think of Orochi.
That might have been where I finalized that, but Oda didn't really use it as a sound effect until the last couple arcs. But yeah, it's been very consistent since then.
Yeah,
he's stomping and tromping,
and Luffy goes, "Oh, Loki, is Loki a good guy?" And everybody in unison says, "Absolutely not!" with anger veins in the word bubble, and get a couple of interesting looking giants here, including an old lady.
I love the old lady.
Oh my god! I didn't even notice.
Enya Superstar Karnak, and what looks to be a Oars looking giant in the back there, where the horns are literally just coming out of his head.
There's a bunch but I want to add, is that Baron Tamago there on? Doesn't it look like that?
Very similar mustache.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And head.
I really hope the old lady was in the brawl that was just happening.
Yeah,
absolutely. Full asterisk shit.
Oh, yeah.
She's old enough that she'd be a warrior giant.
There is no doubt in my mind that this woman will be the subject of an SBS question.
Yep.
If there's one thing I know, that's going to be she's going to have a name, a whole bunch of interests, and...
Hey, Oda, name all these giants that we've seen.
Turbo Granny's going to wreck that shit.
Another example of Luffy not seeming to be on the same page as everyone else about Loki. Very interesting.
True.
He's read too much slash fiction to think he's a real bad guy.
He's really sad.
Yeah.
He's adopted.
Yeah. So we get a really cool exterior shot of the village as we hear more arguing, saying, "He's the accursed prince! Even before Loki's birth, King Harald prophesied that he would be killed by his own son. Shortly after he was born, he killed the royal family's lucky horse." I think there was an HBO show about that.
Oh, God.
Remember that?
David Milch, you'll pay for your sins.
Yeah. But somebody remembers that. And then we get this other fellow who kind of looks a little bit like Sergeant Slaughter. This big butt chin, saying, "That was the same year Linlin killed Chief Yorl, the legendary warrior." And we have a group of giants here who are kind of sobbing and saying, "The country was beset by natural disasters, and the queen passed just a year after giving birth to Loki." They go on to say that he made the underworld his playground, using his innate strength to kill and control the vicious animals down there, then unleash them on villages at just 10 years old. So he sounds a lot like
Odin.
Like Odin, yeah. And we see like a fun silhouette, like a giant tot, basically commanding these giant beasties to go wreak havoc. And then we see him kind of older, laughing while the village burns. They say, "Arson, devastation! Loki's many pranks threatened our lives. Between his status as a prince and his cruel personality, he made our lives hell whenever King Harald was away. And then, worst of all," they continue to the next page.
And we see a silhouetted, looks like a funeral pyre almost, or lying in state form of what we take to be King Harald. Loki killed Harald, the greatest king in Elbaf history, right in his own castle up there. We get a cool bam shot of the castle, just up the stairs, just out of reach of the party. And they say, "The kind and radiant king who tried to connect Elbaf with the other countries of the world that were so terrified of our warlike ways. Chief Jarl was there and tried to stop Loki. That's when he got stabbed in the head." As who is it? Was it Delaney that was saying that this guy looks like the pointing Wojak, like just sticking his finger right at Jarl there, and Jarl says, "This helmet saved my life," and Luffy's like, "The helmet didn't do anything," which is a really funny, just 1-2
a running gag. There. I think that's the.
I don't remember saying that at all.
Somebody did that on our Discord. They just put the image of the pointing guy.
It is funny. It is. Yeah.
If I'm known for anything, it's a sick Wojak reference.
Okay,
I've always said this.
Consider myself chastised. So they say it was about 6 years ago, I believe, that Red Hair caught Loki rampaging at sea for us, and Luffy's like, Shanks did that, which is I would have not thought. Now maybe I'm misremembering or misinterpreting something, but when I was rereading, doing my full series reread, which I just caught up with, like last week, I want to say that when we first get the first chapter or two of Elbaf and they're talking about Loki, they were talking about how like it took 50 giants or something like that to subdue him or something. There was something that was
that might have been a different occasion though.
It could have been, yeah. Maybe I'm misinterpreting it, but that stood out to me where I was like, wait, in this next chapter is they're saying that Shanks caught him. So
well, Shanks is like 50 giants.
Apparently, yes, he has the strength of 50. And Luffy's like, "Oh, I heard that Shanks is here. He was around a little while ago. I don't know where he went though." Says one of the other the giants, and Zoro is reflecting on this. Maybe he has realized that like, how does Luffy know that? Who told him that? And so we therefore transition to the outskirts of town. They have stepped aside, excused themselves from the party. And Zoro is saying, "I thought it was weird how fidgety you were. This would explain it. That guy killed the king. The whole country hates him. Obviously, everything he told you was a lie." And then we get a nice detailed shot here of Zoro sitting with his legs crossed here, and Luffy is kind of stomping, raging at him. "But he said he knows where Shanks is. Do you have any idea how much I want to see him?" And Zoro's like, "Yes, you talk about it all the time."
You literally don't shut up about Shanks.
You have 3 personality traits, and one of them is where
that
Shanks.
Is one of them.
It's a way for him to take advantage of you. You think Loki doesn't even know? And Zoro's like, "I'm just basing it on his reputation. I didn't see the guy." And then we get a little flashback to a line that we didn't actually see Loki saying, but obviously he did say it to Luffy. "I'll tell you everything I know, including where Red Hair is now." And Luffy remarks, "If he's lying, I'm not letting him go. I'll beat him up instead." So at least someone else is now aware of whatever weird deal Luffy made with Loki.
And we jump over to Nami, who isn't very pleased at all. And she says, "I wondered why you were sneaking around. Have you guys ever gotten to your destination without me?" Which is a fair point, because it was Luffy and Zoro, and nothing was going to happen if she hadn't stepped in. And we see a ship flying up into the clouds, presumably up to Loki's tree, which is Loki's dreaming tree. And Zoro says, "Listen up, Luffy. I'll get the keys to his cuffs, but we're gonna decide if he's telling the truth or not." And Luffy's like, "Got it, thanks." So why is he here? Why is he here anyway? Nami says, "He's my servant now." And sure enough, Rodo is sitting on the boat. He does not look like he's rowing, but he's just having a timey time. He's still steaming after getting the shit beaten out of him. And he just goes, "It's an honor." But Zeus is right there. He's like, "But I'm servant number 1 and Sanji's number 2. Got that?" And Rodo replies, "What a stimulating torture method." And I think, who in the hell? Oh,
it's probably Zoro.
That looks like Chopper. No, Chopper's at the tree.
It's just the it's just the 3 of them.
Zoom in there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Zoro. You zapped him, and Rodo leans over to Nami and says, "I think we share a lot in common, both being navigators." Nami says, "Never try to close the distance between us again." "No, of course not."
So happy
I really
Nami.
I like your nerd voice.
Yeah, it's
I'm just doing my shitty St. Cloud impression.
No, I know what you're doing, and it's perfect.
Eat the pennies.
That is this guy. Yes.
Nami says, I feel bad that we're taking the star of the show away. And Luffy, of course, is munching away on a big ol' moose dinosaur bone. Like, I brought some meat. Did you try any of this moose yet? And Roto looks back at where the party's happening and he says, they're all properly hammered now. They won't even remember what the feast was for. And Nami says, it's such a shame that the treasure in the castle will be disappearing. What do you think, Roto? And Roto replies, my eyesight is poor. I doubt I would even be able to tell it's gone. And they're rolling up now to the gates. And I think that's Zoro who says, so that's why you're here, Nami. And of course, Nami plays dumb. Like, huh? And of course, her eyes are showing berry signs. And they...
So I'm just trying to remember where everyone is, but yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Well, they're incoming to the tree now, where...
They're going to the castle. They're just going right up from the party to the castle.
Is it just Zoro, Nami, and Luffy? Because Brook and Jinbei
Usopp's
and Usopp
down there.
Yeah, they're still presumably at the party.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, they all roll up and we just hear Roto sing. Is that? Yeah, I think it's Roto. No, it's Loki.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Loki's back at the tree and he says, "Gahaha! So that's what this is about." And we move to
Kirsten for the first time.
Oh boy, here I go.
Kirsten.
I try to give you one with the least text, so enjoy that.
Thank you. Down in the underworld. Doga-ga-ga-ga. All right, I take your point, and in that case, I refuse. Zoom in on Loki saying, you think I'm going to spend the one life I have stooping to the level of trash? Gee, thanks for the invitation to the most noble knighthood in the world. So what are you then, celestial dragons? Asking what we've all been thinking. Shanks asterisk says, where's the intel from? And Jojo lady says, the agents dispatched to Elbaf sent one last transmission that a giant crow had appeared. Nothing since then. We don't have any dirt on him. But now that I hear him for myself, he is supremely insolent. And she drops her hood. Yeah.
Heterochromia. It's heterochromia.
Yeah, like David Bowie.
Yeah.
Simply love to see it.
You do.
Holy Night Gunko.
She did forget her pants.
Yeah, she did.
She's on that Frankie
she and
diet.
Frankie would probably get along really well.
It's like, I'm going to overdress at the top and nothing else.
Look. Oh, she's got like an arrow hand? Okay. She's cool as shit.
Those shoes,
anyway.
Though. Those shoes are cool.
The shoes are cool.
This is an excellent
Those
design.
are Egghead shoes.
It is an excellent
style.
design. Missing pants.
Like what, 30 years later and he's still like knocking out designs like this? Like
this is fantastic.
Very good. This is one of his best in a while.
Yeah, I'd cosplay this shit. Anyway.
With pants.
With pants, yeah. I'd wear leggings. Anyway. Gunko says, we should simply erase him. And then Shanks asterisk with the previous dialogue bubble completely obscuring his face.
Yeah.
Sis, don't get a hold of yourself, Gunko. And then a wolf comes in saying, grrr. And Shanks asterisk goes,
I love this wolf. I'm looking forward to its name being revealed in SBS in a few weeks. And we have Loki here. Whatever it is. Gobble them up, wolf. And the wolf who's...
you asked the question and you got it answered within about 8 seconds.
Hey, that might be... I guess there is a Wolf Blitzer, so sure.
The logic here. Oh, well, Wolf Blitzer's a real name, so obviously you can name a Wolf. What is this, Black Dynamite?
Yeah.
Hush, little girl. A lot of cats have that name.
and you see Wolf with his tongue paralyzed and completely out of his mouth, much like Loki later on and before. And you see her name is Gunko. Had to check. I like JoJo Lady. Has an ellipses as she's like, "Hey, you breathed on me. You made me
breathe my own breath." Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it
didn't
make any sense.
To be fair, it's dog breath, but giant. So I mean,
yeah, it probably does stink. I have a dog. It probably stinks.
I'm personally going with Darth Koala, but that's just me.
For Gunko, I have literally looked for her name each time Anyway, and we see some interesting white or whatever color arrow coming out of her hand, as that arrow, which exists in the real world, is not pointing to something, presumably, encircles the wolf, and she does a twiddly thing with her fingers and snaps. Or is that the snap?
It detaches the arrow, because then the ends have that little
not the clearest, but clear now that I see it. Wraps around the wolf's neck as no, hey wolf, no, I just named you. It was so original, and she points straight up as the arrow also seems to pierce through Wolf's head. How dare she? Wolf, gone too soon. He does. I guess that is his name because he keeps saying Wolf. Like Loki, you have 6 years down there with nothing to do and can't come up with a good name for the wolf. I see, and you have Shanks Asterix saying, if we offered to spare its life, would that change your mind? So I guess not completely dead, but not doing well, as it's struggling, hanging from a arrow, as one does. And Loki's like, "Oh, you're offering me a deal? In that case, your fate is sealed, my friend. Die and be in peace. I'll be sad. I'll be angry. But a warrior doesn't quibble about and whine about his way of death. Like a true Cleon, I will die with honor. Instead, I'll feed." That was just for Alex, who is there somewhere.
Loki will never see Stovacor. He's a piece of shit.
We don't know.
Well, we don't know. We don't know, actually. To be fair. He may see Stovacor one day. Who knows?
Instead, I'll feed on this rage and use it to bring the world to ruin. Which... Would you get into Stovacor if you bring the world to ruin? I guess it depends which world.
I mean, how many people are dying with honor? Like, I don't...
That's true. And are you dying with honor?
It's you confusing. Must... First and foremost, you must die with honor.
That is first. That's the only thing about being...
That's true.
Anyway,
welcome to the Star Trek podcast. Today's topic is Wolf Blitzer the hottest baby name?
Wolf Blitzer is all in one name. It's just...
It is. That's the wolf. Wolf Blitzer, comma, the wolf. That
wolf hungry Wolf Blitzer.
I hate all of this. On that important note, that's been chapter 1136. AJ, what were your thoughts on this chapter?
I love this chapter. It's one of my favorite in Elbaf. Maybe my second favorite. Because what I really like is that it's kind of hit from a lot of... the arc has hit from a lot of angles so far. It's been very reminiscent of early One Piece stuff, East Blue stuff. I think the arc in a lot of ways reflects, again, Skypiea, mechanically, structurally, thematically in some ways, the fixation on a god. And then, so it's very nostalgic in that way. It's got just general fun factor. It's got incredible payoff for finally seeing this place that we've been wanting to see forever, specifically for Usopp and Luffy. And then the Robin Saul reunion and the huge emotions there. And now we have, I think, in this chapter, a lot of recontextualizations and interesting elements to Elbaf as a whole, but specifically the lore of the worlds, the history of the worlds, Nika in general, and some things about that you can, I think, imply subtextually about Loki and the culture here. And in previous chapters, they've kind of brought forth the idea of a counterculture, like there are some strict traditionalists and then some in the newer generation who are thinking differently. And I think it just fills in and enriches the culture of Elbaf and why Loki may think the way he does. And I think there's certain things you can surmise about his role. Just generally, I think basically every new thing we learn here is incredibly rich with far-reaching implications, and it's just so dense, not just in terms of the information it gives us, but in terms of how we can apply it to the arc as a whole and the whole story. And it's also just really, I think it's really thrilling page to page and fun. So yeah, I loved it. It was one of my favorite of Elbaf so far, and a really welcome return to the series. I had a blast.
Delaney.
Right. I liked this one, which is kind of hard when it's so... I usually kind of zone out with the information heavy ones. Like, I think I'm not at that point where I've been doing this long enough that I always make mental notes, but I did have a couple this time around where I was like, this is something that I want to keep in mind. I like that we're getting into the idea of Nika as, like, potentially a god of destruction, which they've alluded to, where it's like, you know, he could destroy the whole fucking world, but right now it's Luffy and he's just our big goofy friend. But I like that we're getting into the implications of, like, oh, his power is fucking scary and we're all terrified of him because he does destroy civilizations. And what bits and pieces I see of the anime, I don't keep up with it. Have recently been like, oh, Luffy's power up is scary as hell. Like, it's been
the anime has leaned into the, and I know, Alex, we've talked about this before as well, like the maniacal, like the scary kind of maniacal side of Gear 5, which I think
is cool.
Yeah, I think the anime, I think it's a balance, I think, generally. But the anime definitely leans way more on that side, and like there's that meme about Lucci being like, oh shit, here's karma about to hit me in the face, just because of how terrifying that is. And it's a good time to be bringing it up when we're at the fucking Ragnarok world, you know, where you have that history of mythology and literally destroying gods, to then sort of raise the question of what nature is the power of Nika, to the point where I'm wondering if, much like Wano, which was very much, obviously it was all kind of, it had ideas at the outset, but you hear the conversations about, like, the open borders of Wano and where it gets a bit more political. And I get, like, I don't know how much really I'm reading into it, because obviously this has already been very present, but them raising, like, you know, the great and mighty of the day always fear Nika's arrival. You know, under the circumstances where there's just a lot going on and everyone seems to be restless across the world, I wonder if there's some consciousness of that in what we're setting up Nika to do. I don't know. It for some reason it really hit different with me this week. And I don't know how intentional that was. I don't know how much it's supposed to reflect on anything genuinely political, but I thought it was an interesting point to make beyond, like, you know, oh, you know, he's a friend to all those in need, and like he uplifts,
those who are most in need of his arrival. That people are scared of him, that institutions are scared of him. I thought was such an interesting point, and I hope they build on it. I would love to see where that goes. Steven,
your thoughts on the chapter?
I do appreciate. I love the conversation that we've been having about the different perspectives on who and what Nika is, and the different angles. Because as we were talking about, like in the intro, I was mentioning how there are some old school fans who saw Luffy as like he was just like the humble kid who came from nowhere and is actualizing pure just sort of magical chaos potential, and that the Nika chosen one, like living out a blueprint that has been set before him thing does rub some people the wrong way. And I think that even as Oda does advance that viewpoint or that kind of situation with Luffy's character, I think he does a really good job in various chapters, as he does here, to kind of give you a bit of a three-dimensional look at that, and to make you ask, how does that look to different people, not just us, the reader, or from the perspective of Luffy's friends, but also like other random people around the world, the way that you saw the reactions to Vegapunk's speech from people around the world, and some of the reactions that they had to that. So I think it is wise of him to to not just lock in on the most simplistic perspective and presentation of Luffy and of Nika. That stuff was interesting. I have another. Okay, I guess I will be the one with the hot take here, that I do not like Gunko's design at all. Really, I feel like it is I will not elaborate on this. I feel like it's a Soul Eater design. I feel like it is a design
That's
for
totally it.
Wow.
I see it.
I couldn't even place it.
It's honestly the bandages and the arrow.
The bandages, the arrow, the fact that she has a weird fucked up pelvis, which is exposed for some reason because
the
she doesn't
pelvis
have any pants.
annoyed the shit. Yeah,
the anatomy is all over the place too.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
Steven, you convinced me.
I feel like she's a design intended to appeal to moody 13-year-olds. That's my...
she.
That
It's
must
like
be
if you
why
took
I like it.
It's like if you took Koala's head and then put it on a Pandora Hearts character, like one of those like old like dark fantasy anime from the 10s. Soul Eater was exactly it. Holy
I'm gonna
shit.
be honest. I think her design is way better, like belly button up than down.
Sure, I think
right.
she has cool shoes. I like the arrow, but
Shoes,
that's I don't know. I think it's
So,
kind of fun and different for One Piece. But I know what you're coming from, Steven.
It
That's
is different.
It's gonna pay-
your character.
It is a Soul
It's gonna
Eater
pay
character, right.
big dividends in the anime. Like, let's be real. This is one where he designed it and he's like, oh, they're gonna have fun animating this. But I have to read the manga, so obviously how that translates is subjective.
I'm like, I'm torn. We've had worse. It's kind of how I feel also.
But beyond that, I didn't want to bring this up during the recap because it would have kind of derailed it for a couple minutes, because it really is not like super pertinent to the content of the chapter. But there was something that I did want to wax on philosophically about for a minute, because I think it would be interesting. And it's about a little translation / localization thing here that I did notice today. So like, I don't, just for the record, I don't read the scanlations. I don't go and look for them. But I do sometimes see like individual examples of things where the scanlations are different, simply because when the chapter does come out on Sundays, like I'll go around and I'll just kind of take stock of like what are some of the reactions that people are having. They're not all useful reactions, but they can be. They can be useful. They can be interesting. They can help me, sort of refine my process in some ways. Or it's a data point. It's something that I can take away from how people think about certain phrases or whatnot. And so I will see like comparisons where people are like, oh, well, the Scanlation did this and the official does that. And there was a very interesting case of that this week, and it was specifically on page 12 when Roto is rowboating them away, and they're like, "Why is he here anyway?" And Nami says, "He's my servant now." And I saw I think somebody maybe even DM'd me on Twitter, which I'm not. I'll still scroll every now and then, but I don't actually tweet on Twitter anymore. But apparently the Scanlations had her saying, "He's my slave now." And so there were people who were like, "Oh man, like Nami's when she said, he's my slave now, it hit way harder than servant." And I thought that was a very interesting reaction. So I did want to talk about that for a second because, so for the record, in this line, and again, I will preface, this is not super important. But for the record, she says the word that she says in Japanese is geboku, which is not their word for slave, but it is like a sort of derogatory term for a servant, or a henchman. He's he's a member of her goon squad.
I was going to say, isn't it like a jovial? Is it really supposed to hit?
He's a hired goon in more ways than one.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, ultra rare Nami.
Yeah. So, so that's okay. So there's a starting point. And when you deal with humor stuff like this, obviously the process of localization translation is you take stock of what the original text is, and you see where's the author coming from, and then you also have to take stock of your target audience and who will be reading it and how they're likely to interpret things, and to use that to inform your decision making process for how you choose, what words you choose to use. And in some cases, there are circumstances where you can absolutely, I think, change servant to slave, and it probably will hit harder. It's obviously it carries more connotations. It is a much harsher term in this context, and when you're talking about humorous lines, which this obviously is, it is presented in a humorous way, that can be advantageous. But when I was working on this, I actually the funny thing is this is the sort of thing that I'm constantly doing with every line of dialogue, every panel, every bubble, is weighing different options, different word choices, just very quickly, just, kind of like, okay, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this. And I had forgotten until I thought about bringing this up that I actually did, for like half a second think like, oh, should I change it to slave? And then I decided, no, I'm gonna stick to servant. And the reason why in this case is because, in particular, when you consider the context of One Piece and a story where slavery is an actual theme in the story, it is a very, very important facet to the worldview of One Piece. It plays a very important role in multiple arcs. It's something that we have seen characters that we've been introduced to grapple with and experience for themselves. And it's not like the decision to not, or the rationale to stick to servant rather than slave. It's not just like some kind of like a political correctness thing, but it's actually like directly tied to, I think, the themes of the story, and to choose to use that in a joking situation, I think, especially if it was not originally done by, like, if Oda did it himself, then sure, like if he had used the word dore, which is slave, I think it would have been a betrayal of some of the themes that he has put into the series, to use that, to then turn around and use that for a joke, specifically from a Straw Hat, the heroes of the story. That would have been like, whoa, okay, but he's the author, like it's his bed to make and to lie in. But I think as a translator, you really have to be cognizant of things like that, of like, am I going to be the one who is, sort of twisting this? And so I think that's an example of a bad localization where like you're not really considering the ramifications of the word choice you're using. And that's just, that's one random little throwaway joke. As I said, it's not super important. But it is interesting. I bring it up specifically. This is maybe just me getting, in my feelings about it. But I do see that reaction a lot when people talk about the chapters where they're like, "Oh, the word choice was like way more hard hitting in the scanlation," and a lot of times, when you actually go back and look at it, it's like, well, it's for a reason. It's because like that's not really a fair representation of what the author was actually writing in the first place. And it's a very difficult thing to, I think, to get across to readers, because obviously you have to really dig deep into both languages to understand why certain word choices are made or not made. But I thought it was an interesting example of something that you can really look at from different viewpoints.
No, that's super fascinating, because I see it from both sides, like as a big air quotes comedian, where it's like go for the punchy joke. Obviously, like it's a bit darker to say like, oh, he's my slave. But it's, especially in a chapter where so much of it is like, oh, Nika, the breaker of chains, liberator of the poor. It's like,
right.
No, like even without that context, but especially like back to back, it's like you kind of have to sacrifice the bit if it means you're potentially compromising every major theme in the entire series. But I also see the instinct of like, I just got to make this joke. I got to make this joke punchy, and that's the intention when it probably wasn't.
Right.
From Oda's perspective.
I mean, I do think like, when we're talking kind of about the long run, especially because I assume now this is like the foundation of a relationship between Roto and Nami for a while, like the like servant means that he's like voluntarily like partaking in this relationship, whereas like slave would infer that he has no agency at all.
Right.
It's not nearly as dubious as it was with Zeus, who is like, oh, yeah, no, I own you now.
But that's also kind of like, that. I was going to say, like, it sort of makes Zeus's line here even more interesting. Because I think, like, having servant be the word instead of slave, and Zeus saying, I'm servant number 1, Sanji's servant number 2, is very funny.
Well, yeah, because they're getting something out of it. Like... she feeds Zeus the Thunderballs, right? That's the...
Right.
Yeah.
And Sanji exists in her presence generally.
Feeds him Energon goodies.
Yeah.
She really has collected a goon squad.
Yeah.
Sanji is this guy bothering you, queen.
Nami's always been like, okay, if you're going to be the worst human being ever, I'm going to take advantage of you, and that's always been a personality trait of hers.
But see, like that's the actual joke. It's not like
right.
oh, I have a slave now. It's like, oh yeah, there's a hierarchy. We have a tier system, and Zeus is over Sanji after, I'm going to say, about a month of
I think it's less about
work.
the joke. I mean, like, just to take a step back, like this, we've always made fun of scan leaders. I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of evolution in the whole manga field since 2009, but they've always tried to quote unquote punch it up by adding swear words or just making it feel like it's a different sort of manga, because scan leaders are they're pitching to a base of fans that isn't really the same base of fans that Oda is pitching for and writing for, which I know Greg has written extensively as to what Oda is looking to achieve. But like, there's a generation of fans. I think the moody 13-year-old is like, that's what the scan later wants. So maybe they are right, because look at
that's
this
my
movie.
fucking Nakama.
As a former As a former moody 13-year-old,
Who
I take
amongst us
comfort with
isn't?
that.
Yeah, just to cap that off, before it turns into a full on rant,
Sorry,
again,
that was...
I mentioned it is in my opinion, an example of bad localization, but that is like one word, that's not me saying like I think that this is the wrong philosophy, or that they're bad for choosing to do it that way, or anything like that. It's just simply, I think, an interesting example of differing philosophies encapsulated in a single line. The way that it can backfire.
This is not a declaration of war from Stephen Paul.
Right. Yes,
academic observation.
I'm trying to put this into context here, which is that I thought it was an interesting example of a way to talk about translation and localization in a way that hopefully people find educating.
It's too late. The clickbait articles have been written and read. Yeah, and not paid for. So who's next? Kirsten. Or Stephen, did you have anything? I forget. Did you talk about the chapter?
Yeah.
Or did we just? Okay. I forgot where we left off. Kirsten, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Everyone else has said really interesting stuff. I mean, it's also just such a dense chapter. I mean, going back to the Nika stuff for a little bit. I mean, I feel like the whole One Piece Chosen One narrative is so interesting because it sort of asks the question of if everyone in this world is trying to force Luffy into a Chosen One narrative that Luffy is actively shirking, is it still a Chosen One narrative?
Including us as readers.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Haruden and them being like, oh, don't ruin the fun by not wanting to talk about Nika. It's like that's totally the readers, right? And Luffy's just like, yeah, it doesn't matter. I love that. I think that's why Luffy is such a great character, and why One Piece can kind of get away with it, with doing a Chosen One thing, or trying to do a Chosen One thing, or doing its own spin on the Chosen One thing. And it also just makes me really excited for the moment that Luffy inevitably does Gear 5 in Elbaf. What will that reaction be?
Well, they already... I was going back through the Egghead arc, and they all... a lot of the giants are there, and they all oh, it's Nika! Ooh.
That's right, yeah.
Which I forgot. But, yeah.
Yeah, I guess... I don't know. I guess, did Dory and Brogy tell him all about it yet?
I mean, if they
if
did...
it's that big of a deal,
Luffy
you would
was
think
on
it would be the
absinthe.
first thing they'd say. Yeah, they were.
And meat. He was in a meat coma.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they told them about it, and this is part of the reason they're throwing this big feast. I don't know. But it's interesting. It brings up a really interesting dynamic, both for the story and for the culture from which the story within the story has come from. So I'm excited about that. I'm also really thrilled that somebody else is in on the Luffy Loki subplot. When that started happening, it just felt so unlikely that Luffy would be doing kind of this Loki caper by himself. So I'm really having the original trio of Luffy, Zoro, and Nami kind of doing the side quest is very exciting and appealing to me. It's also funny that Nami doesn't really know what they're doing yet, I don't think. Yeah, it's sort of, I mean, you guys on the podcast have talked a lot about how Elbaf is sort of bringing back old One Piece, and I like this idea that we're now going on this side quest with kind of the original 3 Straw Hats, and looking forward to that. R.I.P. Wolf. Brutal.
Wolf Blitzer the Wolf, yes.
Wolf Blitzer the Wolf. Really enjoy how deliberately this chapter obscures the Shanks-like space. Good
The
chapter.
Shanks-like?
Had a good time. The Shanks-like.
Like Bloodborne.
Yeah.
By the way,
They're souls-like. They're soul eaters-like.
Shanks-like.
And they're Shanks-like.
by the way, so if Loki got caught by Shanks, wouldn't he have some sort of reaction about this guy looking exactly like Shanks?
I mean, it's possible
Maybe
we
he
just...
did, but
Yeah, that's true. We might have just moved.
Could have been
past
off
that.
screen, yeah.
Also, isn't he like blinded? He's got
Yeah,
crap over his eyes.
He's got bandages over his eyes. He can't see
Oh,
them.
duh. Duh. That, you got me there. And his name was Wolf. Yeah, go ahead. Kirsten.
oh no, that was it.
Oh, okay. Alex.
Okay, so I've had a lot of time to think about this. So the chapter title, "The Land That Awaits the Sun." I don't think there's anything in this chapter that explicitly references this, but I think it's kind of interesting that, like, you know, Elbaf is another one of these countries like Zoe, who, you know, they're waiting for the man who'll bring the dawn or whatever, and Wano. Again, same. Like, it's kind of interesting. You know, I think we've talked about the cultural implications that this figure of Nika has across the world, and I think that's really awesome. But like the panel that I did, you know, I remarked on how it was similar to, you know, Shanks's crew dancing and talking in the first chapter of the manga. I don't know. I'm trying to like connect some dots here. Like, why would he do that? It could have just been like a fun little nod, but it could also just, I don't know, it could be signifying that this party, like the first party that we see in the entire series, is the prelude to another great adventure. Which is, I don't know, redundant to say about One Piece because this entire thing has been one big adventure. But like, so what is that? What would that entail? Having another adventure within this adventure that isn't just, you know, your standard arc.
Prelude to the final adventure.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder if like we're going to actually see the destruction of Elbaf in this arc specifically. Like, you know, they even brought up the fact that the world has ended twice or whatever. Where in the Land of Ragnarok, as somebody mentioned, and I feel like this is basically Chekhov's Ragnarok here. Like, we've opened the drawer. And
if you put a Ragnarok under the tree, it has to go off by the second act.
That's right. But like,
I use the Chekhov's gun thing a lot, but Chekhov's Ragnarok is a big up on that. Yeah.
But we keep seeing these, like we do keep seeing these, like, these parallels between like the first chapter and Elbaf. Like, we see that, but we also see Colin running around. Colin, I think we've talked about, as sort of like this weird Luffy analog. How he has his own Makino type figure, and is, you know, the only Elbaf kid who's just out there looking for adventure. He's very sort of like cut from a different cloth, and I wonder, I don't know. I wonder if like his adventure is going to unfold, and that's what this is sort of like signifying. This could just be nothing, but I just think it's kind of interesting that these parallels are here, when like they're explicitly not really in any other arc as much. You know what I mean? That said, you know, it's funny that you touched on this in the SGS. Yeah, there's definitely a lot more to Loki than meets the eye, and you know, the circumstances surrounding Harold's death are also kind of ambiguous. Loki has sort of made a name for himself, so naturally, you know, I don't know. I think, yeah, I don't know what else to think, really. other than Oda did a really good job of making us kind of hate Loki by the fact that he sort of looks like Kid Rock.
I was just thinking large Django.
Hey, don't you dare besmirch.
How dare you?
My Blorbo. So, one thing I'll leave it on is, hey, here's a thought. What if that is actually Shanks? Like, what if it's just been like a weird misdirect the entire time to make you think that, like, oh yeah, it's not Shanks, it's his weird twin brother or his clone or something. Because like Oda's still going through, lengths to not show that left side of his face or body even. Like, we don't know if he has two arms or not.
Oh, I forgot about the arm.
Yeah,
Because I always forget about the arm.
Because and a bunch of these panels you can see the sword, and it's sort of got a bandolier.
Yeah.
That does not mean anything. No.
I kind of hope it's Shanks.
It's
like it would break everything we know about One Piece if this were Shanks.
It would definitely be shocking. It would implicate the red hair pirates as a world government.
Yeah, but it also doesn't really make sense. That's my issue with it more. Like, okay, as a plot device, I like unexpected, sure, but like,
well, you could retcon shit to make it make sense, man.
I know, but that's not what Oda is good at. Like there would have been something in the past you could point to, like, oh, he wasn't there when this was happening, or it just makes absolutely no sense.
We know so little about him, though.
Yeah,
like we know he was found as a baby on Roger's ship, and then was Roger's cohort dude until then, and then there's just like a 20-year gap where we don't know what he was doing.
But
yeah,
look,
I don't
he
know.
stole...
The last thing we saw him doing was going through the supernovas like a fucking serial killer. So I'm not like, at this point, I'm not looking for logic. I'm just like, what's he doing, man? What's he up to?
Last thing we saw him do was blow up Bartolomeo's ship.
Yeah, he's fucking killing people. I mean, I don't think Barto's actually
wasn't
dead.
That was Yasop, and he kind of just
Oh yeah, that was Yasop.
Yeah, and I mean, like,
let him do it.
Pirate code,
complicit.
Pirate code, guys. Come on.
He's still a pirate. Like, we're not saying he's Mr. Goody Two Shoes.
He's like Walter White killing all the lawyers in prison.
Yes.
Personally, I think Oda can absolutely make it make sense or do whatever he wants to do. But for me, I'd really dislike it if it actually was him and he actually was, Darkseid. Primarily because it wouldn't feel like One Piece to me. Like a lot of what I love about the series and of their relationship, which is one of my favorite in the whole story, is predicated on Shanks being this very specifically established sort of person, who can only understand Luffy and in a very specific way, who their promise, all of Chapter 1 you would look at differently, and in my opinion, in a negative way, if he was shown to be this evil mastermind sort of thing. In Marineford, when he decides not to see Luffy because of their promise and Luffy being defeated in that moment and not wanting to disgrace him, just so much of the spirit of a relationship that's core to everything that One Piece is predicated on Shanks being what we know him to be. And to me, just recontextualizing all of that would be really tough for me to be on board with that, because I think it just changes One Piece fundamentally in a negative way for me.
Absolutely.
You're right.
100%.
And not to dogpile on that too, but like there's a big aspect of that is Luffy's personal intuition, and that's what makes his interactions with Loki so interesting, is that the way that Oda differentiates when Luffy is gullible, when he is easily manipulated, it's always for humorous purposes or for like something related to food or whatever. It is something that is going to be generally lighthearted. Whenever Luffy has intuition that is like sort of true or is about the goodness of another person's character, his intuition is always proven to be right. Like he is not somebody who makes snap judgments about people that turn out to be wrong, generally speaking. So that would just, again, it would completely cut to the heart of, one of those kind of purely protagonistic qualities that he has, which is that, when he knows something is true in his heart, he is always ultimately right about it.
Well, then I take issue with, what are we calling this guy? Spanx? Yeah. I'm
better than Shanks Asterisk.
Why does he have the exact same facial hair as Shanks? Like, he doesn't need to.
Hey,
he goes to the same.
That's a classic facial hair he has there.
Look, the Instagram fuzz is really hot right now. Okay,
the pencil thin goatee.
Well, maybe so. We know these two are holy knights, which I remember specifically. Alex, I think you were on. I think you were the one who said this. Was like, what a thing to shoehorn in chapter 1086 or whatever it was.
The Holy Knights, yeah. Whoa,
the Holy Knights.
Don't forget about the Holy Knights. I'm like, how could I forget about them? You just now mentioned them.
That's something that hadn't been mentioned for 1086. And true, I'll start true. But also, like, okay, I guess we're getting into that endgame stuff. We're in that prelude to the final adventure.
Of course.
I get it.
Bad guys.
Yeah. But I'd say, undercover work does not hurt to have the exact same face and facial hair as Shanks, but although one extra arm, and less scars maybe, but it might be on purpose is my point there. I think also, again, not to dogpile, but the idea of it being Shanks is like us being like, Oda usually brings us the unexpected, but this is so obviously not Shanks to us readers. But I mean, it's all but said, and it's all but shown that it is. But there's no way, for all the reasons we have just said, could it be Shanks. But to the casual reader, the person picking up Shonen Jump and just reading the chapter and not really thinking about all, that
they're still gaining object permanence.
Yeah. They may forget. They may not be able to they might be like, what? Shanks is evil now? How did that, it's supposed to, he's not doing it
it's
for
disposable
us.
By nature.
It's supposed to cause a stir.
Yeah, and to be fair, it did cause a stir. Like, what the hell? Why is there an evil twin walking around for Shanks? That's plenty to chew on there. Kirsten, sorry.
I don't know. I'm in the middle. Like I said, I'm a Lynch head, so we contain multitudes. So I'm kind of keeping it. I'm keeping it open. I understand. Good. I'm reading One Piece. I'm not like, why is One Piece not Blue Velvet? But I'm keeping an open mind. I'm keeping an open mind.
This Shanks clone is actually Piper Laurie in disguise.
There it is. Oda loves the crazy twist that sometimes makes no sense.
Piper Luffy.
I'll say my thoughts quick. And there were, I think, a few things we didn't touch on. First, I of course have to talk about the ancient religious text Hurley because I'm me. Interesting. Elbaf is the home to that religious text, and half the crew just so happens to be at a library that contains a ton of texts. Are we going to see or hear that? Will Robin be engaging with that ancient text? Was it part of Ohara originally? Like, I assume not, but Kirsten, you look like you want to say something.
Oh yeah, no, I totally forgot about that. But yeah, when they were like, no one can read it, I was like, I know one person who might be able to.
Did they say no one could read it? I think it's just that it's like been passed down. There are many interpretations because it's so ancient. Robin probably would have the most objective ability to read that. Yes, I assume it is in, if not poneglyph text, then something else.
No one can translate it anymore.
Oh, it does say that. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So, apologies on that then. Again, proven wrong instantly. Or as it happens. I
got totally wolfed.
Do you know who I bet who can read it? Pudding. Right? Because that third eye is supposed to be able to read anything or whatever, right?
Is that what? No, his third eye. It had an
she can
open,
cross it in a special way that lets her see the shark on the on the runes.
If we go back to Star Trek, it's the Kai Wynn thing with the blood. Was it the
the magic eye?
Yeah.
The magic eye picture.
Yes,
it's a sailboat.
It's a schooner.
Exactly.
That said, I've said before, if there were my ideal piece of merchandise would be like this kind of thing. Like, I want to see what the One Piece Bible looks like, or like this ancient text. I think that sounds like fun. The fact that the world was quote unquote destroyed twice is super interesting. This is like, I think we talked about this a lot in Egghead. Like, all things considered, like, think about Jarl here is 400 something years old. He's only a generation or two removed from the Void Century. Like, it was, the Void Century itself wasn't as ancient history. And like, think about what was 800 years ago for us. Yes, it was a long time ago. It was what, the 1400s, but there was a lot of history before that. And that was extremely consequential, like the entire Roman Empire. So like, and many others, and etc. But
how often do you think about the Roman Empire? Huh?
Really
me when I'm pondering the Void Century.
Yeah.
But what about the Roman Empire? But like the stuff that happened before 800 to 900 years ago is equally consequential to what's happening here. And it's like, we've gotten like nothing about that. Right. And so it kind of makes sense that we're like, oh, this is new information. We've never really dove into this. And to me, that is super fertile territory for Oda. And this is the time, for many reasons, this is the time to get into that. I'm so excited for that personally. And these are like the first little few drops we're getting of that, and I'm enjoying it. The Nika here, kind of to that point, does look different than the previous iterations of Silhouette Nika, and we know to take a Oda silhouette with a little bit of a grain of salt. But the other one had a spear, I think. There was the shield. I'm trying to remember. It definitely was not adorned like this one. But definitely did not have a dagger that he was about to stab someone with. This is a much more menacing, as Delaney correctly points out, that aspect of Nika, that this is a much more menacing one. Also, I would have this panel framed. I really like the old-timey, like, what do you call it? Like what's the microfiche kind of look to it?
Microfiche.
Yeah, microfiche.
Just say microfiche.
I said microfiche. No, I figured out the word. I figured out the word as I was trying to figure it out.
It's like a microfiche. What is it?
It reminds me of the vases in the Bless My Soul, Hercules on a Roll in Hercules.
Yeah.
Yes.
With the muses, yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
A mosaic of Nika roasting a giant hog.
It's like somewhere between Egyptian and Greek mythology. Yeah, you got to stop saying that.
I didn't start this. This is, you're culpable.
Me? What the hell did I do?
You own the podcast.
Oh right. Yeah.
Right,
so
I own.
I am super curious about this. I really, as I think AJ and I touched on earlier, I love the unreliable narrator kind of thing with Nika. Like, I kind of hope we don't get like a completely straight answer about that. I'm a little doubtful about it, but I kind of hope we don't know whether that legend is wholly good or evil. We'll see. The last thing, I'm like, I half forgot what I was going to say. Fully forgot what I was going to say. It's somewhere. Oh no. No, it was something we were talking about and now I freaking can't remember it. Well, whatever. It's gone. It's never coming
Wait,
back.
but to jump, if I may
maybe
jump
I'll
off what
remember.
you just said.
Yeah, go on.
Because, it's also, I mean, Vegapunk was saying in his broadcast that history is told by the victors, right? So it's interesting that Nika still, like, whoever you're talking to, like, Nika was a force of destruction or a force of liberation.
Yeah. No, I
It's
agree.
like, what's a rusty venture? That's basically the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Couple things I just want to add on, because fuck it.
Please, maybe I'll remember what I was going to say.
A couple chapters ago, I was trying to remember where we saw that figure with the Gasa hat, who we think is Scopper Gaban, right? He's in the underworld, right?
Yes.
Like he was walking through the underworld.
No. He's in a because he was in a jungle the most recent time we saw him with like a really creepy bear. Remember?
Okay. I don't know why I thought he was in the underworld. Okay, I thought he might end up running into these two holy knights.
He may have been in the past. Like he was on the shore looking out at the water, so I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't be positive about anything about where he was, but
or who he is.
Yeah.
So then I went back to one of the couple chapters ago, and this is spoilers for anybody who hasn't listened to last week's SGS, which is a real banger.
You should. Should we mention the SGS is our off-week podcast? That's Steven, translator, as we mentioned, and Greg, who's a series advisor to Netflix, and Oda's best friend. Not really, but works at Shueisha and all that, or does work for Shueisha, that they do every week during off weeks. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So y'all were talking about Stephen. Y'all were talking about the identity of Shaggy, this figure,
the person that Loki was talking to. Yeah,
and somebody brought up, and even Greg thought this initially, is that perhaps this could be Shirahoshi, and supremely interesting stuff, and it sort of goes back to, like, I'm reading it here. It says, are you still traumatized by that experience you were telling me about? And Shaggy says, I am. Even now, the memory makes me tremble uncontrollably. And Loki sympathizes with this person. If that is indeed Shirahoshi, and that is referring to when she was captured by the celestial dragons in Marijois,
briefly,
then it gives Loki all the reason more to hate these two. So that's sort of what I was thinking, and I just wanted to add that in.
Did these two say what they wanted from him? They did. An invitation to the most noble knighthood in the world. Okay.
Yeah, they were trying to recruit him for something or other. I guess probably, presumably, has something to do with them trying to destabilize Elbaf in some way, for the world government, for the Celestial Dragons.
Presumably.
Yeah.
Steven, what were you going to say? Sorry.
That was an interesting thing, and I still have like some doubts about that, the validity of that interpretation, just because I do feel like there are certain details that would have been different if it were Shirahoshi, just in terms of the way they are talking to each other. But it is very interesting that particularly the mention of the recent experience does seem to it has a very plausible angle from Shirahoshi's side.
And another thing that Loki says to Shaggy is, and that's why you're so weak. And it just reminds me of Luffy calling Shirahoshi weak Hoshi.
True.
That would be an interesting wrinkle.
Yeah, it's just the main thing is, like, we just don't have a why. Like, why in the world would Shirahoshi be talking to this guy?
I mean, they both have things in common. They're both big.
Sure.
Big, and they're
beautiful.
Trapped in a place by themselves for nothing to do
for years. Yeah. They're pen pals. This is their version of pen pals.
Yeah, they both could potentially. I mean, he could potentially be a ancient weapon.
So Sorry, just adding on to the talk about Loki. We were talking about how, depending on your perspective, different people view Nika in different ways, the sun god in different ways, etc., how that's applied to Luffy. But I think a really interesting thing that this chapter brings forth is how that exact thing can be applied to Loki.
Yeah.
Because you have all these people who are saying that he is, he is evil incarnate, and there's a lot of gaps to be filled in with regards to the circumstances of his father's death and everything. But the moment Luffy, someone who's come into this place, questions it, everyone shuts it down immediately and begins talking about how it was prophesized that that his father would be killed by his son. That they almost attribute blame to Loki for Linlin's discretions.
Mm-hmm.
They blame him for the country's natural disasters. So it's like, I don't doubt that Loki's done something, but it really seems to me like a path was laid out for him, and he really, from his birth, essentially, I don't know that he had any other direction to walk. So I just think there's really interesting things, culturally embedded things associated with his upbringing, his birth. He seems to have been marked by an unlucky star. And I just think there's a lot of nuance that could be applied to Loki's situation. And also I think it interesting that Zoro is the one who tells Luffy, he could be manipulating you. Just these people say this stuff. He could be a bad guy. When Zoro is someone that Oda's used in the past as the closest thing to an unemotional, objective advisor. And one of the first things I thought of is that he was basically the only person in the crew who was wary of Robin, and and he ended up being wrong about that. I mean, it makes sense why he was wary. It was smart for him to be wary, but Luffy's intuition won out in the end and was right. So I just think there's a lot of things that make me definitely open my mind to there being tons of ambiguity and lots of vagueness with regards to Loki's story that I think this chapter brings forth.
I mean, it absolutely mirrors Odin in almost every way.
Odin,
like
too,
before we meet Odin. I mean, we knew Odin was this,
right.
But
he's going to be
far
awesome.
As, I think we were talking about, like, one of the themes of Wano is this, like, unreliable narrator, the victor being able to write history, and the idea that the stories about people are not always true. And this feels very much the same. I mean, not just in like structure and 10-year-olds doing things that they shouldn't be doing.
I like that AJ mentioned luck too. It's like Loki being sort of bad luck, because it is absolutely true that like the Viking culture, luck was like a tangible thing. Like if you had fortune on your side, everybody would follow you if they thought you were lucky, and good things would happen. That's who they would follow as their leaders. So the concept that they believe that he was basically born under a cursed star, so to speak. I think that's a very clever way to incorporate that sort of the cultural background that Oda is somewhat drawing on to help flesh out the giant culture.
I'll say one last thing, just since we're being very thorough. I don't know what hour we're in here of the manga recap. Yeah. I was talking about this, I know, in our personal Discord before, but the emblem, for those who don't know, on Luffy's shield has shown up numerous times in the past, including I asked the group because I was trying to remember. I thought Greg had mentioned something about the Celestial Dragon hoof being related to
Nika's shield.
Nika's shield. What did I say?
Luffy's shield.
I mean, could be. But it's shown up in the church that Kuma worked at Kuma's church. And the pendant that Bonnie gets after that, related to that, it showed.
It shows up literally everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. Yeah, I'm not going to start listing, but look for it. It's there. I think
it's like, it's on the Kozuki crest, it's on the Alabasta flag, it's on, various forms of clothing. It's a pretty.
I mean, this is a different discussion for another day, but I've we talked about Nika being introduced so late in the story, Alex. I remember at the time, chapter 900 something. And it makes me wonder how much of this storyline Oda had from the beginning with the sun and the sun god. I remembered what I want to say now. Perfect. The inherited will thing, the fatalism thing, I think is something that has been telegraphed throughout the series. Luffy being on the execution platform in Logtown. The stuff AJ mentioned, although at that point, we assume it's dragon related, but still, like the winds of history being at Luffy's back has just been there since chapter 1. And I think even the similarities that we get to chapter 1 are kind of meant to reinforce that. So do I like it or not? I don't know. I'll see how it ends, I guess. But I think it's something Oda's been very consistent. It's not a retcon thing. The will through the ages and the destiny and the fate and all that. Again, whether you like it or not, that's a different story. But that's all I got. Why don't we move on? This is the Piece Together segment where we take your questions, comments, and theories and then turbo grandma that. I know that doesn't make sense, but I needed to get that in there. Alex, what do we start with?
Well, we're going to turbo granny the shit out of this because we went really long in our manga recap. So we're going to get through these as quick as we can. Big Mike says...
This is Dis Piece.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. This is Dis Piece. Big Mike asks, is Gunko Luffy's mom?
No.
Wow.
Sure.
Unequivocally, sure. Yes. Next
Bonnie
question.
is Luffy's mom. We all know this.
All right.
Oh, by the way, I'm here. Hello.
Steve joined us, and AJ had a dart.
Hello, it's me.
Yeah. Hello.
AJ alchemically metamorphized into Steve Yurko.
Steve Yurko. Yes, that's what happened.
All right, King Doji. Yeah.
It's Luffy's mom. Let's never talk about this again.
All right, King Doji. He says, "Hey OPP, Oda really making sure we don't see not Shanks' face. I had a thought earlier in the week. We never found out how Shanks got from fighting Kaido to Marineford so quickly. Possibly the pentagrams? Surely the rest of the red hair pirates would say something, right? Anyway, thought it was cool. Wanted to share. Great podcasting as always." I mean,
like that's just like his thing that they don't ever mention because nobody wants to confront it. That he just disappears with these evil pentagrams half the time.
It's like your friend.
Pentagrams. I keep forgetting to mention it.
Like, man, Shanks has been in the bathroom for a really long time. And then he's like, "Oh, you're new, Rockstar." He's not really
black
taking it
steam comes out of the bathroom. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
It's like your friend who drives really irresponsibly after parties, where it's like we could say something, we just never get to be in the car anymore.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right.
There's a rug in the captain's quarters that you can just tear.
I think there was some time between that. I think there were a few weeks between to answer the question more seriously.
Yeah. I'm sure he got there just fine. The Slayer King, parenthetical Slay, says, "Hello, my fellow One Piece fans. So Oars was mentioned in the chapter, the old continent puller himself. So my question is this. Which real-life continent would each of you pull and why? And would you regret the ramifications of your actions? Have a lovely day and give your pets some nice pats."
Wouldn't everyone die in that situation? There's no way everyone would not die.
You could do it really slowly.
Yeah, I guess slowly. I would pull, I don't know. Can I pull, like, Florida away from the United States?
Yeah, does that count?
Or just pull Asia across the Pacific so we can just hop right over there and visit.
Japan needs to be closer, yeah. Although I would still cross country.
And then the rest of the world will be, I'll have to succumb to, tidal waves and
To be fair, though, it is annoying how in North America, at least on the East Coast, it is really hard to travel outside of the country anywhere. And I'm not saying that for any particular reason today. But if I maybe pulling some of the, those continents, the other ones, any of them.
I mean,
you got pretty cheap flights to Europe from New York, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, depending on where you're
but
going
it's
in
still
Europe.
a 5-hour plus flight.
Plus, you don't live in the city anymore. I mean,
When you live in, if you live in,
Zach, boo, boo, 5.5 hours.
Oh, you do it. You do it with a 3-year-old.
I've been on.
I am a 3-year-old.
No, sorry, you're right. You're right. No, I meant more like if you're in Europe, Asia, Africa, it's you could get to another culture and place much easier. You could drive. To. Anyway, go ahead.
Hey, speaking of the Florida Keys, Professional Poyo says, sorry, I'm moving us along.
That's good.
Professional Poyo says, now that the Nami Simps are officially determined by rank, who in the OPP crew is rank number 4?
Oh, let's
I
say
don't know, Steve, any strong opinions?
Oh,
say
yeah,
Ken.
it's definitely Ken.
It's definitely
100%.
Ken, yeah.
Yeah,
Ken?
that's the answer.
Yeah.
Ken is definitely the answer.
Steve's very slow answer to the Ken. Yeah.
Ken.
SNP says, this is a long one. Hello, OPP. So the world, sorry, OPP, not APP. It's not the.
We're the app.
Yeah, we're the app.
Not the ARP.
The AARP. Hello, AARP.
Don't do that to
So-
us.
It feels like it.
I mean, we're getting there.
I have gray hair.
The GAAP.
There it is.
The world according to Garp. So the world has been destroyed twice. Once is enough. Shake my head. We know One Piece has 2 calendars. According to Viz, the Year of Heaven. According to Steven, the Age of Heaven. And what we learned from Alabasta when Robin read the Poneglyph. And Age of Cayenne, Viz, Year of the Sea, Steven. The current
That
one,
wasn't
which we
Steve.
learned.
That was pre-Steven. That was Viz, I guess. Oh,
I
no,
think
Steven.
the
Your
old
future
text,
translation.
yeah.
Yeah. The old
You-
text.
The Harley.
The
The
Harley,
ancient
yeah.
texts.
The ancient Jedi
Sorry.
texts. The current one, from which we learned Nami reading Nolan's logbook 400 years ago. So, if the second time, parenthetical, or brackets for me, in which the world was destroyed, is when the Void Century happened, then is the first time was what made the Year of Heaven end? So the world is destroyed, and then it began the Year of the Sea. By the way, this is
good idea,
a question for Stephen. Do you know French? You used a lot of French for Tamago back in Whole Cake Island. This question definitely doesn't have anything at all to do with Akane Benashi.
I was going to say.
No, I don't. The Baron Tamago stuff was just a lot of like looking for
Fake,
very
yeah.
close, just very close French and English like cognates, so that where they're clearly related, so you would recognize it even in an English context. And that was just looking up a lot of words. So, nope.
This week's Akane Benashi is very close, if not better, than this week's One Piece in terms of like shattering. Anyway, go ahead.
But I do like the Year of Heaven and the Age of Heaven
Yeah.
and the Age of the Sea. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, that
It's
is pretty
interesting
neat.
stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Kind of wonder what the next age will be once Luffy gets done with the world.
The Age of Wolf.
I'm never living this one down. Am I?
We're wolf, ladies, gentlemen. We're wolf maxing.
Hello, OPP. This is Sailor Karna is universal. Hello, OPP. I love that Zoro was the one to catch on to Luffy's plan. That is the mark of a true first mate. Agreed.
Absolutely.
Agreed. Yep.
Greebs. Straw Hat Rigby says, "Hey OPP, great to have. How great to have such a dense chapter to come back to.
Yeah.
Anyway.
3 hours later.
Yeah, the way the Giants were telling Luffy about how they don't know for sure if Nika is a savior or a destroyer of the world, it reminded me immediately of the fortune teller at Fishman Island, Madame Charlie,
Hey, we touched that.
who said Luffy would bring the destruction of the country. I am very interested in how he keeps tying Nika / Joy Boy back into the story in ways like this.
Hey, we touched on that.
Yep. Yeah, AJ
Yep.
was
I'm
on
glad.
all
I'm
over
glad
that.
we were dense this week too.
Yeah. Reverse Harley Patch says, "Hey OPPs, looks like we got
Harley eye, Pat. I think it's a Harley.
Harley.
Yeah.
Hey, OPPs. Looks like we got another look at that sun symbol that shows up everywhere from the Alabastan flag to Fisherman Island.
Oh, Alabasta, right.
It has to be related to the ancient kingdom and the ancient language of the polyglyph, but wouldn't it be weird if Robin read the whole story of the world before reaching Laughtell? Maybe there are 2 secret dead languages since there are 2 ends of the world. Does that mean when the manga ends we'll all forget how to read?
There's one thing I want to say here, and that's that maybe the poneglyphs existed because the first time they weren't able to keep a record. Or they weren't able to pass on a record, and they okay, this time we're prepared. I don't know, obviously you don't know who's on whose side and what happened, but
yeah,
maybe learn from history, which is not something that actually happens.
Hopkins Hat 15 has our final disc piece of this evening. Hey OPP, how it be? I saw the One Piece Symphony yesterday in Chicago, met up with some friends, and we all had a great time. If you could add a song to the symphony, which would you choose? It could be an outro, intro, or anything from the OST. I would go with Brand New World because it's my favorite opening. I have a canned answer for this, and I know that Kristen and Steve also have been to the symphony as well. I don't know if the rest of you have gotten a chance yet. But it's pretty dope.
What's the canned answer?
Shinken Sobu. Which is no, that's partially it. It's from Music and Song Collection 4. It's a 3 BGMs in one track. The first is Sanji's fight theme. The second is Chopper's fight theme, his 7 transformations theme, and then the third is what became Frankie's fight theme. But initially, it was used for Usopp versus Mr. Four and Miss Merry Christmas.
And that's the Frankie theme?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because as soon as you lost, I got lost for a moment when Zach was piping in, but
sorry.
And then no, because I remember that song is distinctly playing when Usopp is twirling the hammer. Right?
Yep. Anyway, that's my answer.
My answer is less. I don't know. I guess I was so happy just to eat the dish that was placed in front of me. I guess I can't remember if they played Anger or not. If they didn't, that would be my answer. But my big thing was that I really wish they had gotten a live shamisen player.
Oh yeah,
for the Wano stuff instead of. Having it on strings was cool, but I think especially for American audiences to see a shamisen player do that live would have been really huge. So
agreed. That would
a couple tracks came to mind. One of I forget the name of it. It's it was a song that just would be used less and less over the years. But you remember the original music they used to play in the extras menu of the Funimation DVDs?
Yes, that's a good one.
What that track is. I like that one. But there's a track from movie 6 that's towards the beginning that Davey Backfight uses a bunch. I really like that track.
The movie 6 soundtrack.
That's that's one of my favorite BGM tracks. It's very bombastic. It's very just really some super fun energy. I like that track a lot. So
that's a very good choice. Movie 6 generally breaks the mold, and then also its music I feel like is just so different from a lot of the stuff we get. Go ahead, sorry.
I haven't seen any of the concerts. My de facto answer is "This Is How You Remind Me" by Avril Lavigne by Nickelback from One Piece Movie Z. Put it in the lineup. It needs to be in the program. we can do it.
With an operatic...
Yeah, of course. Full orchestra.
I will say I think it would be really dope if they did play the full 15-minute version of Golden Jive live.
Damn.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy.
That's a good answer.
And maybe alienate a couple people in the audience.
That is such a good freaking track, though. That is one of my favorites. Gold has such an amazing soundtrack.
Love. Oh, yeah. Anything from Gold would be great.
Gold would be perfect. Or, yeah. That's a good answer. Strong World. Oh, our opening theme, our old opening theme, Kirsten. is
like
the
to see
movie. It is very easy to miss. It's a blinker if you miss, and you'll miss a track from
Movie
Film
9.
Z. No, it's from Film Z.
No, that's from Film Z. Yes, we used to
Yeah.
use. The one from
before
Movie 9.
Overtaken.
We took Overtaken before that. Yeah,
Yeah, we used to use Overtaken, and then we used the song from Film Z
when they all
for
Oh,
a
yeah.
long,
their
long
red,
time.
their red capes and stuff. Yeah, that one. I would love to.
Yeah.
It's very good. Obviously, I enjoy that one. Okay, that's it for Piece Together. That's our lightning round after our snail pace. Sorry, Steve. It was great that you came.
What?
Steve, I'll say here quick. What did you think of the chapter?
Yeah, I liked it because it was thicky. There was a lot to read in here, and I felt like I was like reading it for like a good 10 minutes or so. But it's fun. Luffy, Zoro, and Nami are a great threesome. Poor phrasing.
Isolate that photo.
They're a good trio. But just the more and more talk about this Nika stuff is interesting. And of course, I'm sure you guys talked about it, Death, with all these revelations and what that has in store. I think, as Doflamingo as Loki wants to be, I feel like he's not quite,
Yeah.
He's got the tongue.
Yeah,
He does that
So does the
tongue
wolf.
thing.
does that tongue thing.
God damn it. We've got a threesome joke and a tongue joke. And right before I'm about to make then there's a quickie and there's a thickie, which I want to use in vernacular.
Oh my
but,
God.
You did say Thiccy, and I was going to say
yeah,
Thiccy
he did
the-
say thickie.
Thiccy
Wait.
the Viking.
I'm sorry.
I mean,
Can we call the episode that?
yeah, I mean, and you can just draw Jarl, because he's a pretty thick Viking.
Zach, can we call it Thiccy the Viking?
No.
Yes, I give you permission, Steve.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's call it like Wolf Blitzer. Please notice us. My mistake.
I don't actually want.
I forget.
Well, Wolf is a great name for a podcast episode. Almost like, have you guys ever heard of Wolf Blitzer? He's got a
And
good
with
name.
that, let's round off.
This has been the One Piece podcast for January 20th, 2025, episode 852, covering chapter 1136. Thank you all so much for coming on. Big thanks to AJ. Please check him out on YouTube, on Twitch. He does great stuff, and I know a lot of our Discord server are huge fans of AJ. Kirsten, did you have...
What's his handle?
Oh,
ALECZANDXR. Yeah,
Correct.
I like to thank him too. He really classed up the joint, dare I say,
he did. Yeah,
with his commentary.
he did. I hope we didn't, whatever. Kirsten, where could people find you?
Hi. Yes, they can find me on Blue Sky, and I guess the other place, which I still occasionally check, but not often, at KIRCAREY. And then on Instagram, you can add GTR to that. I just relaunched my Patreon, and this week actually posted. My new thing is I'm trying to write a song a week and post it on Patreon. This week, I posted a cover of In Heaven, Everything is Fine, the song at the end of Eraserhead, because David Lynch passed, and I'm like Delaney. I'm very sad about that. Also, my band's going on tour next month. You can find us at The Real Throwaway on any social media thing. We're going to be doing East Coast and Midwest and some Canada dates, international.
Wow.
So come out and see us if you're around.
Delaney, I know you're working on a bunch of stuff as well. Where can people find you?
You say that.
Well, I
with
just
such
saw you
doubt
were
in your
do-
voice.
No, because I saw you were working on that graphic.
Oh yeah, I'm working on in anticipation of an upcoming video essay. I say upcoming like, oh, it's within a week. It's not. You got like maybe a month at least. I'm working on a channel rebrand, and it's very, very fun. Sort of giving it a bit more of a visual identity. You can find that channel at Infinite Snow Productions on YouTube for video essays, large air quotes. Twitter, Delaney Jordan, Blue Sky, Infinite Snow. I am also on Patreon. I have been doing monthly movie nights with my patrons where we just kind of yap about films. We did one last night for David Lynch's Dune. I let them vote. They picked Dune. Taste is subjective. I do. I take my life within my own hands with my Patreon. But yeah, just plugging along as always. Nothing crazy major in the snow sphere. So that's about it for me.
Steven.
Yeah, you can follow my posting over on Blue Sky at stephenpaul.bsky.social. My One Piece reread is over, so I'm going to have to find something else to post about for a little while. I don't know. Why don't you go over there and see the last thing I posted today, see if you like that. Otherwise, you can read my work on One Piece, Akane Banashi, Shoten, all the fun Viz stuff over on the Shonen Jump or Manga Plus apps.
Alex.
Find me on Blue Sky at dude!bisky or whatever. Weeb Simpsons also. Yeah. Also follow Weeb Simpsons on Blue Sky. I will be at MagFest next week. Just being there, but I will also be there with Super Art Fight. We're demoing our card game at 10 p.m. on 10 p.m. Friday, and we will be main show in panels 1 Saturday, January 25th at 3:30 in the afternoon. Come see me as part of Team Spaceballs. Wipe the floor with Team Gods and Monsters.
Spaceballs.
But, yeah, there goes the planet.
Oh, shit. There goes the con.
Don't be sorry, be quiet.
We're sorry.
And if you're going to be in DC an extra week longer, February 1st, Saturday, 8 p.m. to midnight at the Black Cat. It's Phantom Comics presents Super Art Fight at the Black Cat. And it'll be my last Super Art Fight show for a while, because then I'll be going on paternity leave.
Have you mentioned this on air?
I guess not. Yeah, I'm having a baby in a couple months. So my lovely wife is having a baby, and his name is unknown.
What a weird choice. I mean, great choice.
But he will have a D initial for a middle name. So,
you know, I think
the podcast, is a suggestion.
Wolf.
Wolf is a
How about Wolf
baby
Blitzer,
name.
right? That's a name.
Wolf D. Litzer.
Literally never letting this
He's a
down.
D-lister.
As Wolf Blitzer currently is.
Wolf the Hungry Wolf, Zach Logan.
Wolf the Wolf, Zach Logan Kazanis.
I can't.
Isn't that great?
Steve,
Anyway.
Congratulations. Steve, where can people find you?
Hi, fam. You could go check out my website if you want it, steveyurko.com, social media, Blue Sky, Instagram, the rest. It's Steve Yurko. Listen to me on 4Kids Flashback every week with Tara Sands. Listen to me every day on ProZD Plays Games over on YouTube, and I will be tabling at MagFest, so please come on by.
I'm wondering which episode of ProZD Plays Games will have you talking about how you're late for the podcast and what year.
That's okay. I didn't talk about you guys.
Oh.
He's not gossiping about most of us.
No, he does sometimes.
He does sometimes. Steve has mentioned to me like once or twice. It's like, yeah, you came up in an episode today, and I'm like,
you won't see it for like half a year.
Yeah, it won't be half a year, and every time he tells me, I get scared.
As you should.
I bet the viewers love just the stories about their wacky friend Delaney.
It's probably just like Gadzooks
Wacky
or
Delaney.
something.
That's what I call her all the time.
Well, gee whiz. What a helter-skelter this is.
You're a crackerjack editor.
Oh, yeah,
Delaney.
we were plugging things. You can find us at OnePiecePodcast.com, Patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. Please give us a subscribe there. Our 7-day free trial is still active until some point in the future. So take advantage of that at the $5 or I believe the $10 tier as well. We have the entire Forced to Watch 4Kids series where Steve and Alex here watch through every episode of the 4Kids dub of One Piece and somehow exist today on the other side. They're fine. No mental issues from it. More poop jokes though. And
what? Sorry, what did you say about desert doo-doo?
I didn't say anything.
That's right, a giant toilet in the desert. Is that what he says? I forget.
That's practically hog heaven.
Oh,
more or
God.
less. That's the same. Yeah.
Guests,
If
we
you
have
can't
them.
pay the cash, you're out with the trash.
And feel free to quote me.
All of that. Patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. Only place you could get that kind of banter. Not available anywhere else. We have guests coming up. Guests, you asked for them, right? I guess. I don't know. Some of these have never been on before. Some of them have. We have Crystal Chanel. Kaylee McKee returns, and I believe they will be caught up with the manga joining us for that. We have the named Pro ZD, Sungwon Cho, will be joining us in a few weeks. And Steve, your friend Matt Danner, will also be joining us sometime next month. Yeah.
Of all the adjectives, I thought it was going to be the inimitable Pro ZD or the acclaimed Pro ZD.
The titular.
No,
titular is what I was trying to say.
It's my other cartoon friend, Baby Kermit.
Oh yeah, that's Matt. Yeah, Matthew Danner does play Baby Kermit and storyboarders, right, as well, director. So excited for that. I assume Kermit impressions will be the entire episode. Knowing us,
I mean, it's what white guys do best. So,
but we have a chapter next week, so we'll see you then. That's pretty amazing. My name is Zach.
My name is Steve.
And my name is Alex.
Goodbye, everyone.
It's not easy being Wolf.
Bye, everybody.
Was that
Alex.
Fozzie?
No, that was my Baby Kermit.
You guys are white.
Oh, I can't do animal right now.
No, cut it right there, Delaney. Cut it after Zach.